All right, welcome back to another beautiful, epic episode of this Podcatchers, brought to you by the Drew and Peter Wombo Combo Team Duo Supreme. And we're going to kick it off with none other than the film section. Peter, take it away with all the films you watched this past month.
Yeah. About the movies.
Bruh.
I decided I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan
You hate
anymore,
movies.
and so
That's
yeah, I'm,
amazing.
I'm over them.
One of
I'm over
very few
them.
people.
So
Movies are supposed to appeal to a huge, wide, basic, everyday, anybody can like them type of crowd, but Peter's one of
yeah, but
those.
they lost me
Yeah.
somewhere along the way, and
Was it all
I
the
guess
fucking
I
remakes and shit you
during this
watched in a row that did it in?
that probably legitimately contributed to why I don't have such a desire to see movies right now, but it's also probably more so that I was a little more lopsided in my media consumption, and I was ended up playing a lot of games
Hey, that's
this month.
fair.
So
That's what we do on this
it's
show.
just it's a
We
give and
switch it up
take.
sometimes. Sometimes it's even. Sometimes it's more lopsided. Sometimes it's whatever. It's whatever is going on about in our lives that the viewer
Exactly.
has no input on. They cannot control us. We are our own demigods of decision making in our individual lives. Anyways, I did see some films which I'll talk about. Normally, I feel like I bring up five, and this I only have three because I just feel like
Hmm.
a lot of the films I've been seeing recently are just sort of like I have less to say about them. It's sort of just like, oh, it was okay, it was decent, it was bad, it was good, like whatever. Types
Hmm.
of basic ass descriptions about them. But to highlight a few of them, there was this one I saw called Windy City Heat from 2003, and this one is a sort of a little banger right here. It's a comedy of these people sort of trick this dude into thinking that that everyone around him thinks he's like a really cool big shot actor, and they get this dude to like go around with them and make like this fake crappy movie. Um, like they just fill it with skits and like hilarity ensues and stuff, and it sort of reminds me of like Christian to a certain extent, where you have the man, the myth, do like a number of things that gets him like to be a notorious figure on the internet, and then you have people sort of messing with him and like trolling him in certain ways, where they're like very aware of what they're doing, but the Christian is sort of like thinking that they are certain people who they're not, and they're just like pretending it like as a group to like be a certain thing to get them in the mindset of just like their whole life situation is sort of just flipped, and it's a weird like their life is almost like purely fictionalized in a strange way. This is a bit more lighthearted than the entire life of Christian, and it's rather funny because the actual like main dude here is sort of shitty and just very he says some very out there things, which is partly brought on by the fact that like he's elevated to this seemingly like sophisticated status, or like people like are openly like respectful of him or like whatever, even though he's like a total shithead throughout the whole thing. But it's all fun in the act of whatever stuff's going on. So it's a pretty fun movie, I'd say. You almost feel bad for him at times, but also he just again does like some like not some good things. So it's just like kind of a good laugh overall with this one here. I know it's on your watch list, so at least
Yeah,
for
I can't
Peter,
remember
and it's also
where
now on the
I
viewers watch list.
can't remember where I first heard about it,
Yeah, same.
but
I almost definitely
I
in a
honestly
YouTube video of some sort. It might have
it
been
must have been right. Yeah,
like
just a
your
random
movie sucks.
recommendation.
Is he might have had like a 2003 list it was on or something. I don't know, or maybe not because he's not on that. So in terms of the ratings of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's watched it because I follow a decent amount of people on Letterboxd, and you're the only one at this
Oh
point.
really?
But I can't remember then
Yeah,
who
that's
I
weird.
first heard about the movie from.
Yeah,
But
because I've
it's
definitely
something that I
heard of
really
it
need
from
to check out.
outside of Letterboxd at some point somewhere. I just don't know how or why or how. Uh,
Yeah.
so, but it's one worth checking out, I think. Um, and then other than that, I checked out Mickey 17, which was released this year
Oh,
from
okay.
Bong
Hmm.
Joon-ho, who is a really cool and really good director. And I think this film overall is very fun. It's basically about a dude who like in this sort of sci-fi world. He basically just takes up this job where he's sort of recurringly reincarnated over and over again as he's put into like he's tasked with like the most difficult and deadly jobs available. And basically each time he does that, he'll be like reassembled, sort of in a factory like weird way. And yeah, overall this movie is very fun. It's got some plot holes, and it's like the main thing is the subtlety angle of it. Basically Mark Ruffalo's character is just Trump. Like it's not even like trying to hide anything like that. So as far as like that character specifically goes, and a lot of the themes it's trying to push, it's like it's very out there and open about like what it's trying to just say in general, which I would say is its weakest aspect. But then like despite that, I think overall it's still like a fun idea. They don't like they do a lot with the concept of this, and they in doing so don't particularly like focus in on just one key like point of this. Like I could almost see this working more as like a mini series where you're able to flesh out more of like each side character thing and each like individual like just sort of subject they're trying to bring up through various points, because there's a lot of like sort of dropped subplots. Like they only exist for like a short bit, and they don't like fully like come back just in this one film, so I feel like there could have been more with this, either expanded out or just as a film, a way of making it sort of more concise. But overall it's still fun. Robert Pattinson's great in this role. He does like a silly voice the whole time. So yeah, it's really fun, I would say.
It's definitely something I wanted to see in theaters, but then I just ended up not seeing it in theaters, and now it's been sitting on my watch list for a while. So it's something that I'm a fan of all of his other stuff.
No, yeah. And this one's in English. Generally his ones in Korean are better.
Usually a little stronger.
Yeah, I that's just general for I feel like a lot of directors in their foreign versus like if they're a foreign director who main country they're from is not an English speaking one.
I can only imagine that how difficult or like.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's got to be hard as
how
shit
much it has to change.
I mean, just directing in general, and then also like with the language barrier between that. So like there's a good reason why that might occur. But it's still, I don't know, it's still a thing that happens. But not that like even this one is bad or his other English ones are bad. Like they're both very good. Snowpiercer and Okja, which is like partial Korean, partial English, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's still good overall. Still very good for
very talented director.
No, yeah. And then next up on my list here, I got. If I could scroll correctly, a film that I consider to be, I don't know if the best is necessarily most accurate here, but I think it's definitely my favorite like musical biopic that I've ever seen. That being Better Man, which is the monkey one.
Yes.
It's the one. It's about this dude, Robbie Williams, who I did not know anything about since, I've been trained as an American. So apparently he's like, pretty well known in like Britain, UK, and then like the
UK pop
Australia
stuff. He's boy band
and stuff. He's just like a boy band pop singer and stuff. And like for this film, a lot of it is like certain plot points and certain things that may occur in other like musical biopic things. With the main overall difference between them is just the fact that like he decides to represent himself as a monkey rather than like just him in person, which I think overall like what they did with that is really well handled. Like the monkey CGI looks really, really good. It just like throughout it, and it does make it stand out, and it does, I think, say a little bit something about the way that he views himself, because the other thing, like, it's him directly in the role, it's like it's not somebody else stepping in to play him, which I think is unusual. And this film is not necessarily afraid to like lean into the lesser aspects of him as a person. Like other biopics might do that like a small amount, but it's nothing really compared to how like where his character in this film goes. Because that's the other thing. Like again, like I know nothing about this guy. I've heard literally none of his songs. I don't know anything about like his background or like any personal stuff before watching this. So it was almost just like I was watching like a purely fictional thing of like, what if a monkey person was like singing songs and dancing around and shit.
Yeah,
and like
pop star.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I mean, either way, it's I think really solid, and it has some like genuine emotional payoffs near the end, I would say. There's definitely a few moments that got to me a little bit, which is weird because on the surface it just seems like, oh, it's just silly, like he's a monkey, so that's it. That's just a pure gimmick, which it does sort of feel like that, but I think there's also some stuff that they did actually do with that, rather than it just is a pure thing that exists. And like either way, it just does help it make it stand out by that much more. So I really enjoyed this film, especially compared to other music biopics, which is just like the, you know, as far as subgenres go, is very samey. And
Yes,
this one sort of
very
stands out, not just
boilerplate.
because of the monkey thing, but because of, I would just say, the whole thing of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard it announced and like the trailers came out, I was just like, why is this a thing? Like, who's this for? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had never heard of Robbie Williams or, Take That. Funny you
Same.
should say that you've never heard any of his songs now, because the reason why I re-went back to this movie and like actually figured I might have to give it a chance is because the theme song for Anora, or like not the theme song, but the needle drop that's used in like the beginning
Oh, really?
and like the title crawl, that is a remix of the Take That.
Interesting. I don't even
song.
remember what that sounds like.
Yeah, it's the Greatest Day one.
Okay.
It's like I like that song a lot, and I thought it worked very well in Nora. And then I was kind of surprised to figure out that, oh, the Monkey movie, that's about the guy that sings the song that I liked in Anora.
Right.
So it's very funny, the sort of connections there. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad that you were able to enjoy it so much. I know it wasn't really a success at all because
No, yeah, because nobody in
it
America
is
gave a
a
shit.
bit of a yeah, it's just a like
And it didn't star
a
like whatever popular
miss,
actor
like-
like Bob Dylan with Timothy Chalamet, and like yeah, I mean, just to compare it again to that, like I couldn't believe I was watching a biopic that had like real like musical scenes where like people are like really emoting and singing and dancing and shit. It was like, whoa, there's choreography of like groups of people. Whoa, that's crazy. Which, you know, obviously probably a Bob Dylan biopic is not going to have all that because that's just not really how he is as a person nor as a songwriter. So like I get it in that, but like it's still just, I mean, I keep talking about it, but like the scenes in that are just so boring of like, here's him in the recording studio again, here's him playing in front of the same live audience again for the billionth time, you know, just like rinse repeat that for 2.5
just
hours
sitting
or
in front of
however
a
long
mic,
that one is.
the guitar.
This one at least, it feels like it's going places and it feels different, and I like it a lot. So yeah, that's the main through to, I guess, highlight from this section, this period of time in life. So yeah, we can move on because Peter hates films. So
Can't stand hearing about him.
sorry,
Or
I just went
TV
off for
that
10
matter.
minutes. Oh yeah, TV. I also don't have
Yeah,
anything.
because
so.
I have not watched any of that in a long time.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
But
Fuck
the
that
video
shit.
games.
Let's get into the real meat of
quite a few
the
to
sauce here or
talk
whatever.
about.
So there's,
Yeah.
I mean, should we just get it out of the way? There was one that we had an overlap on, at least one that I'm aware of.
At least, yes. And that would be the one that you brought up last week, last episode. And that game being Persona 5 X.
Oh, man.
Persona 5, the Phantom X.
Now, here's a banger right here in the making.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, I just want to say that last time when we recorded the last episode and I just talked about it, that was during the 1.0 update. And between us recording that and us uploading it, the 1.1 update came out. And I think right now it's on 1.3. I don't purely know, which might spoil whether or not I've been keeping up to date with this game.
Feeling about this game.
But we'll get into it. So, I mean, but you know, you are the one who had to sit and listen to me explain it the entire time last time, and you have since checked it out, so let's hear what you have to say
Yeah.
about this guy
I
here.
figured I had to give it a shot because I am a fan of the Persona games. I'm a fan of the Atlas stuff. You kind of sold me on it.
Hey, I
You're
saw
like,
them like, hey, it's
not sold
decent.
me on it.
It's kind of
Yeah, it's
nice
like
if you look past certain
there's
things.
it's a Persona game, gacha game.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
And yeah, I checked it out. It would been my first gacha game that I played in a long time.
I'm
Besides
sorry
my
I got
daily
you back into
driver.
the cycle. I'm really sorry, man.
It,
If you
it's
need
not,
help, I'm here for
you know,
you.
it was honestly a good thing.
It's a good
Because
thing.
I remembered the appeal.
Okay.
I also remembered like the overwhelming nature of a gacha game.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. Like when you're
There's a
first
lot going on
jumping
in this
into
one.
a game like Persona 5 or like it reminded me of Genshin a lot because they're trying to clone like basically every
Yeah.
aspect of that kind of. I mean, Genshin is the modern schematic for so many gacha games now.
Yeah.
And Persona 5 X obviously took a lot of inspiration from there. So when I was playing through Persona, it was very strange. It was almost like a deja vu with like the amount of systems they're throwing at you. Like every single like progression in the story is met with like a block for another resource that you have to get, and then that unlocks a different avenue of grinding using your stamina, stuff like that. It really is a lot, and that's what this game is trying to do. It's trying to be your daily driver, just like any gacha game is trying to do at the end of the day. But that has to be balanced. Like you want a game that's fun to play, but without having to be like too much work.
Yeah.
And in order to be a gacha game and be profitable, they need you to come back as many times as possible so you feel super invested, and then you are more likely to maybe invest some of your own money. And I bounced off of this game pretty quick, honestly. Like you were discussing your shortcomings that you had with the story, especially the first act. And I
Did you ever make it
agree
past
with
the first
basically
act?
everything you said. Yes, I got most of the way through 2, and
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped.
Yep.
It wasn't very engaging. The game like loop of regaining your stamina,
Yeah.
spending it on few certain resources in order to level up your characters.
It's really tiring, and
it's
just
really
sort of
tiring.
like almost like defeating of like, okay, well, it's like the next 2 weeks of my life, like not purely spent on that, but just like every day I come in for like 10 minutes, and now I just spend like all whatever daily resources that refresh on just like these couple of battles that like eventually in 2 weeks time I'll have a party competently leveled enough to do this thing, you know what I mean, versus like a real video game where like maybe I grind for a little bit for like a couple hours and then I just keep going, you know what I mean.
Yeah, like and it's very apparent how they had to translate the Persona 5 gameplay into this. It's really interesting because the dungeons are all like pretty directly lifted out of like a Persona game, and it's all pretty impressive. They're like very large and probably longer than a lot.
They are. I feel like they're
main
bigger
dungeons.
almost.
They're
almost too
somewhat
big. So
bloated.
it's a lot
Yeah.
of fluff that this game has, which maybe sort of summarizes it. This game, like a lot of gacha games I've heard like described as like they could be described as like a chore almost, and like Wuthering Waves hasn't really hit that for me at all, but this game definitely did throughout a large portion of its points. I didn't even explain last time like the main like gameplay combat stuff, but like to compare it to something like Fire Emblem Engage, which is also based on an existing property. What like both of these games do is they take the existing gameplay system from the like main property that they're from, and they simultaneously simplify it while also complicating it to an extreme degree. Where Fire Emblem Heroes, you got like people on the maps. Maps are like way smaller. They're like 5x5s or some shit. They're like 10x10s at most. For like grids, and then characters have less movement, and also graphically it's less intense, and then also the like characters only for the most part get like one weapon and a handful of skill slots and stuff. and the levels go up to like 40 or whatever. And like on the surface, because of that, it seems like way simpler. But then you get to a point where there's power scaling, and then all these other like smaller systems that all add up together to create the overall like, okay, this is how you create the greatest, coolest unit ever. And it's the same thing in this game where like you have in the mainline Persona games, it's like, oh, my character leveled up to level 23, so that means they get this skill called Aguilau, which I think is the medium fire damage to one enemy, like a single target medium fire damage. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool or whatever. And like in this game, the equivalent of that would be medium fire damage to one enemy, inflict one trace of burning passions. If the enemy has 3 subsequent burning embers, which is a different term, then activate Chiyu defense mode, or like some shit like that, where it just requires you to like just like fucking memorize a bunch of random terms and stuff, and it's like so annoying. It's like I have no idea what anything does anymore.
That was unique to each character, which I kind of like that aspect of like each character having their own.
Yeah, well, every character should feel unique, and they should have like their own things going on. But it's just that like over like complication of every little thing. You know what I mean? Like again, like it's simpler because characters only have like 3 main skills, and then they have an ultimate attack, and then 2 passive skills eventually. Compared to like the mainline Persona games where party members would have like maybe up to 20 of like eventually in total, but you can only have 8 of them active at once. And like, yeah, they definitely need a way to make characters feel unique. But it's just like so needless. And like they'll like say within it like it does 77% of attack damage. So that, like I don't know what that means. Like I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
it's like needlessly complicated.
Yeah, and like the aspect that I thought would attract me the most would be the story, and the story really fell flat for me. It like the dungeons, like you said, felt bloated and very long, and the story was just like a band-aid over that. It didn't help at all. I should say it's not a band-aid. It's like
it's like a broken band-aid.
Nothing on it. It was just.
It's like you're about to put a band-aid on, and then you drop it in like a pool of your own blood or some shit, and you're like, oh, oops. Well, I guess I'll just still use it. I guess
it's just useless.
You're like bleeding out. It's like, bro, I need help.
The amount of exposition in these stories was obscene. It was like every time you go down a hallway, you see an open door, and they're like, oh, what's behind that open door? Do you think the boss is around there? Or like, oh, there's a gate here.
Yeah, it stops you like every locked. 5 seconds for everything.
We should probably stop that, yeah.
And it's a very annoying... It's one of those annoying types of video games where, at least for the story, like main required things in the dungeons, you have to do it in a very particular, precise way. So you might enter a room and look around and be like, oh, I know how to solve this puzzle. I interact with this object, which does this thing, and then I could go here. But in this game, you have to like basically just follow the objective at all times. Because if the objective marker isn't exactly on the thing, then you're not able to mess with it yet. You have to first be like, oh, I wonder what this does. Like, even if you already figured it out, you know what I mean? And it's just one of those like kind of annoying things. Like, if I already know how to do it, I should just be able to bypass like whatever like explanation thing, and you should have it like,
you think, yeah.
Oh, well, we'll still pop up like a tutorial modal, like optional thing that they could open if they want to, because they bypass the thing that would normally like open it if that's like a requirement of like your thing. But most of these games, they just do like, nope, you can't interact with this unless you do this other random inconsequential thing first. So that's always a little annoying.
Yeah, there were certain things like that where it's just like lacking polish that you would expect. The game also just didn't run very well for me. Like,
yeah, same.
I would get stutters, or like the menus would like just be.
Yeah,
like
every time you open like the character menu, it'll lag a little bit. Like I play on Steam Deck, which really it finally Wuthering Waves worked on it for the OLEDs. For the longest time, it just didn't work on OLEDs. And I'm playing it on Steam Deck for like just a small bit, and it runs at like a stable 60 FPS. It somehow runs better than the PS5. So like I don't know how that's happening, but then the Persona 5
probably
the Phantom
ran
X
better than.
Yeah, Persona 5 the Phantom X, it's like every time I open
like,
the menu, it like lags.
Yeah.
Like just for the characters and stuff. It's like, yeah.
Very, very strange. didn't really have crazy high expectations when I heard Persona was making a
Sure.
gacha game, and then when it finally dropped, I was never gonna check it out. You checked it out. I was intrigued.
Hmm.
I finally checked it out, and yeah, it was just something that I guess I'm glad I
Experience
gave a
for a short
shot
bit just to
to
see.
experienced.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm glad I did as well, I guess, to a certain extent, because we don't hate this to be hateful. We want this to be good. Like we want it to be cool, right? Like Persona Gacha, I think can work, and they have the base of it. It's just like the whole fucking thing is janky as shit, and just like barely works,
Yeah.
and is
And it just
overly
wasn't fun.
complicated and bloated to such an insane degree. Like there was this event that they did where it was like the what's the term, roguelike thing, which a lot of gacha
Yeah.
games try to implement that. Like Wuthering Waves has one as like a weekly thing, and it's like pretty doable and easy, and it takes like maybe 15 minutes to do at most. And then like meanwhile in this, it just takes fucking forever, and it was like an event thing
There's
that
so
was
much
like
going on.
refreshes
Yeah.
daily, and it was just like it's not fun. It's not fun doing the same
There's
like
like
the
20
reason the
different
Persona
events
games
going
work
on.
is because like even though the combat is like simple, you bounce between that and like slice of life stuff. But in this game, you could just be
Where you
like,
get to take your time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You get to take your
And
time,
it's
but in
just
this,
not
it's just like
possible
non-fucking
in this
stop
game.
combat for like hours. You could just go.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work because of that.
Yeah. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how popular this game is going to be.
Yeah, it seems like it's
or what
fallen
the
off a little bit. Like
longevity
there
of
was a
it's
decent
gonna
amount of
be.
players during the first update or two. I stopped playing technically
Mhm.
during 1.2 or right before that, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, because like I feel like it is losing players, and I would be surprised if they did not do anything to combat that in some way. Because like the other main complaints from people with like specifically the 1.1 and further the 1.2 updates was like the difference between what the global release of the game was receiving versus what the Chinese, exclusive servers were getting in terms of like rewards and like I don't know various other things. Because basically global just got less for some reason. So that's weird. But
Yeah,
like my
I
main
heard
complaints is
about
still
that
just like I
controversy.
just want the game to work. You know what I mean? Like I just want it to like flow and feel nice, and like the menus don't break, and like the whole like everything is not everything is laggy. I forgot to mention it last time. The run animation, they basically just copy it straight from Persona 5, I feel like. And in that game you're like your run speed of the actual character, like how fast they're moving like in the world when they're sprinting, is way faster than the movement speed of the character in this game. So it's the same running animation, but like a much slower speed, so it just sort of looks silly. Like he looks like he's going fast as fuck, but he's actually going like 5 or 4 miles per hour. You know, he looks like he's like full blown sprinting, but it's really just
Yeah.
seems like a quick walk, like in terms of like the actual distance he's going. So it's just like I don't
There
know why
did be
you want to
some
just slow it
asset
down a little
flips
bit, like the animation,
that
or like
yeah,
if that
are
just
not
looks
super
completely
good.
shit. Oh my
Mhm.
god, just another one of those things. I have a couple other nitpicks. The translation is pretty mixed overall. Like for the most part in the story, they're saying like real words and sentences that are understandable. But there was this one moment where in the dungeons in Persona 5 and this game, the like you open a chest in the dungeon and sometimes it'll do like this little cutscene where like one of your party member joins you in like like the character opening the chest, and then they're like, "Oh, I wonder what's inside," or something like that. Just do like a little character thing when you open a chest. And in this one, there's the owl companion Lufel, and the thing he says when you do that is, "What are the contents?" But there's not a real fucking sentence that anybody would say who speaks English. What are the contents?
I guess that's his
What's
thing, right?
inside?
Because like he uses weird,
Does he?
n- that's what is he'll use like a more flowery language than most people are used to,
But he's not like
and the
Starfire.
rest
He's
of
not
the
like
crew.
just like making up phrases that he thinks are real, right?
No, he's using real words, but it's just like everyone else is like, huh?
Well,
What did he say? Like,
as in like he's saying words in a particular way that is unnatural, but is still understandable in like basic
yes,
speech.
I
Like
think
is he
so.
like that? And I just completely missed that.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah,
I guess.
what
Okay,
if, like the
forget my
contents of
point.
the
I'm
box.
stupid as hell. Yeah, that's fine. But it's still
I don't remember much about
it's still
these
jank.
character
Okay.
moments,
No, yeah.
but it is.
As a whole, yeah, it's interesting because the second palace story thing. I mean, we didn't even talk about because I mean, I feel like we don't need to add much on top of the first story thing unless you have any other hot takes besides what I said last time about the first chapter of the story. Or I mean, did I just
It's
say
very silly.
as it was?
Like I felt very similarly to how you felt. My
It's
biggest
just the
gripes were
silliest thing ever.
that it's very silly, as well as what I already said. My problems with the expository nature of the entire story. Like
It's very
everything is
repetitive,
just,
and Persona 5
and
already
it's
had
very
those issues
repetitive.
also. Yeah, where it would just like scene happens, they talk about scene, next day they talk about the scene again except over
Yeah,
text. you know,
and it's like
it
I
just
was
repeats the
familiar
same
with that
errors.
to some extent, but it's even worse in this gacha game where you have less space to piss me off because otherwise I'm just gonna drop it.
Right.
And the game, if the gameplay systems aren't fun enough, if the story isn't fun enough, if the writing isn't fun enough, if the pacing isn't fun enough, then
Yeah.
it's just not worth it for me. Which I'm glad
And
I was fine. Like I had problems with Genshin when I was playing, and that was a little more difficult for me to just be like, see the forest for the trees because it's just like, if I'm not enjoying playing it, maybe just don't play it.
yeah, it's that easy, guys. If you're still playing Honkai Star Rail, it's not too late. You can still give up and just stop playing it. It's that easy. Sometimes giving up is actually good if it's you're giving up a bad thing.
Give up for your dreams. Give
Give
up
up your
for
dreams of becoming the
or,
fucking greatest Honkai Star Rail player or whatever. Give up your dreams of conquering the end game where you have to spend $300 per update.
You
or
should
whatever
give up
they're
now.
doing in these days. I did have a couple of things to mention about other translation stuff. I guess we could ignore my last one. I'm just a silly head. But there were some legitimate translation issues that affected the gameplay in a huge and major way. So did you ever do the part-time jobs in this game?
I did some of them, yeah. Most of them
Yeah.
probably. I don't know how many there
Yeah,
are.
when they
There's
start
probably-
asking you questions, they just don't work. They're just not correct in English. They're just not. They're just not right. And I have some specific examples, two of them, to go over here in detail because it's just that important for the game. So one of them is you work at a crepe shop, and then you are basically tasked with making a crepe for a customer. And when that happens, Lufel is like, okay, here are the instructions. First, bake the batter. Then, put in the strawberries, the cream, and wrap it all together in the crepe. Then it's finished. So that's 4 things, right? Bake the batter, 1. Put the strawberries in 2. The cream, 3. And wrap it in the crepe, 4. That's 4 things you were supposed to do. And then you're prompted with a couple of questions. Maybe there's 4 of them. Maybe there's not. And so you're asked 4 questions at least in a row. And basically what you could do is each time you get prompted with like, the question, you could just like go to the text log and reread like his message that he said for like the instructions. First question is, what's the first step you do? So you select bake the batter. For the second question, you select add strawberries. For a third question, you say put in the cream. And then for the fourth question, he's like finishing touch. And then you say wrap in the crepe. And then he says, all that's left to do is get it ready to hand to the customer. And then you're prompted with 4 additional options, which is bake the batter, wrap the crepe, put in the cream, or wrap with paper. So I selected wrap with paper because that was not in the other instructions.
Right.
And so that just made the most sense to me. But apparently that's wrong. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's not how you make the fucking strawberry crepe.
I
You
guess.
dumb fucking idiot.
No.
What you're actually supposed to
Wrap it
do
with paper.
is bake the batter, 1. Add kiwi fruit, 2. Add strawberries, 3. Wrap the crepe, 4. Wrap in paper, 5. There's no cream.
Well, you
We're
should have
putting in
just
kiwi
known.
fruit instead, and
We're
we're also
putting
doing the
kiwis
kiwi
in,
fruit
yeah.
before the strawberries. Explain to me how that shit
Yeah.
works. Broken ass
Even
game.
with the log,
Broken
the
ass game.
logs are
I know. Yeah, even with the
remember
log, it
there was
doesn't work. It's just
I
like a
think there
weird
was one
mistranslation
question-
thing.
There
It's
was
so
one
fucking
question
weird.
that I think at the flower shop that I remember getting wrong, even though I had double checked the log, and I was like, wait, how?
Oh, really?
What? Something to do with one of the flowers.
I
like
might have
the
gotten that
tulips or
also, but
lily
I
of the
got it
valley
right
or whatever.
somehow, maybe by mistake. I would not be surprised if the flower shop was also incorrect. I have a different one that was also incorrect though here. That being the beef bowl, where in this one it's sort of like the main game Persona 5, where a bunch of customers in a row just give you the orders and you just have to like repeat that in order. And so the way it goes is that the first customer is like, I want a large twice cooked pork bowl. Then the second one is like, I want a large yakiniku bowl. And the third one's like, I want a medium beef bowl. And then the fourth one's like, I want a large beef bowl. And so then you just answer 4 questions in a row of like which customers like in the order wanted which thing. And the first 3 are completely fine. But then the fourth one, who is the guy who said, I want a large beef bowl, your answers for it are large curry, large yakiniku, and medium beef. None of those are large beef. So I picked medium beef because I'm like, maybe the mistranslation
beef.
was the size.
The size.
But no, apparently large curry is the correct one. Thank you, video game.
Oh,
You don't
would've been
fucking
nice to
work.
know.
And so like if I receive those like things and like along with the other like jank that's been added up over time, when I just get to like those 2 things in a row and like they happen, I'm like, I can't fucking believe this game right now. You know. And then I went on to, I think on that same day I tried fighting the like final boss of the like second palace. And I lost because my character's or like party setup was not properly done in a particular way. And I like looked up the fight and I'm like, okay, if I try this thing, maybe I could do it. And then after like a certain point of like looking into it, I was just like, wait a minute. What if I don't give a shit? What if I just stop all of this right now?
What if I
So
give
that's
up
what I did.
right
That's
now?
what I did.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah,
it
it's
would be
like-
cool if they fixed the game, but I don't think they will. Because China's already like a year ahead and they've probably been doing the same bullshit.
And they're probably making enough money. Like they don't really have to change.
They don't need me.
things or- no, they don't need your audience ship.
Yeah. So that's just the whole thing is silly. It's just jank. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this?
Nothing else
piece
to
of
say
garbage.
about this gacha game, but I guess I wanted to use this to
Transition?
transition. What the fuck? Translate. To transition to what I decided to pick up in lieu of me getting back into gachas, and that would be the game Umamusume
Oh my god.
Pretty Derby, which I heard a lot of buzz about during the time that P5X
Yeah,
dropped.
they released it very similar.
They dropped
times.
very similar times. And I wasn't hearing a lot about Persona 5, but I was hearing a lot about the Horse Girl game. And I eventually decided, well, if I'm going to check out Persona 5, I might as well check out this one. I had a bit of a, I enjoyed my time getting back into a gacha.
It was like the
kind of
Persona
scratched
5X
a certain itch
served
for
as like
me.
a refresher of like, oh, here's all these systems that I hate again, or like whatever.
Yeah,
Just to get you used to
exactly.
stuff.
And like there's a satisfying nature to the routine, and I enjoy
Yeah, it doesn't always have
sense
to be
of
bad.
progression. They kind of rocket forward at you, like they make it very easy to progress very quickly, and then you pretty soon hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
But like that first sense of progression is really enjoyable, and I was like, I'm having fun with Persona 5 up until then. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll check out this Horse Girl game too, see how it stacks up. People are glazing it. People are saying it's like, oh, it's the best gacha game ever. And I started playing it, and I do agree it was definitely better than Persona 5. It was an enjoyable time. The loop of the game is really interesting, where you're creating career modes for your horse girls, and they, it's essentially set up as like a roguelike kind of run where you have a career mode that you take your horse girl through, and she goes through a bunch of different things. You train her by, working on her stamina, her speed, or whatever. There's like 7 different stats or whatever. And then you're able to min-max those stats. They have different affinities towards different turfs or dirt, or they want to run sprint versus a mile versus long distance, or they want to be what position they like to run into. Are they a front runner, or are they a pace chaser, or do they like to wait until the end to late surge? And each of the different horse girls have different affinities, different stats, different growths, and that made it pretty fun, honestly, to kind of get to know the ins and outs of a run, how you want to build a horse, how you want, like, what stats are beneficial, what skills are beneficial to basically being able to run. And then once you get a successful career mode, you get a horse girl that you could use in PvP. So you're also trying to build for PvP modes by getting skills that are also useful in elements that are not just your standard career mode races. And it was pretty enjoyable getting that down. The actual gacha mechanics of the game are pretty... I don't know. It seems to be like one of the only gachas that I've played or witnessed recently that is not based off of the Genshin model, which is really interesting. It's a different... It feels like much more of like a genuine gacha game, like from Japan, like the kind of like pinball or like,
I mean, this one's developed by
spin to
Games,
win
which is
coin
I think based in
machines.
Japan, versus like the Hoyo stuff, which is from China.
Yeah. And this one was enjoyable. Spoiler alert, fell off of it too.
Oh, okay.
It's just something that I was
Messing around with for a
having
time.
fun with my runs, but I felt like I hit a point where progression felt like it slowed down a ton. And you are able to like get successful runs pretty quickly. Like once you have a good enough roster of what they call skill cards, support cards, then you can make any run with the horse girl matter. Essentially, the gacha game, or the gacha element, is split up into 2 aspects, where there are the horse girls that you pull for, and then the support cards that you pull for. Honestly, it's strange because like you don't want to pull for the horse girls, which seems counterintuitive. But the support cards are what you actually use in the career modes in order to govern how your run is going to work, because the support cards are determine what skills you get offered, or what stats are going to be the most beneficial to take. And so that was an interesting kind of element to the gacha that I wasn't expecting. But like once you have a good roster, there's always better, right? Because the SSR, or like the the 5-star cards that you're going to want are only going to be offered limited time. They're going to be on banners that are like, you have a 50-50. I don't even think it was a 50-50 pity. It's maybe worse, but the overall rates are a little better. You're going to get a decent amount of cards. But I don't want to get into the specifics of like the odds, because it wasn't that engaging for me to try and like keep playing. There's so much stingy once you get past the initial phase of, oh, we're going to give you a bunch of rewards, we're going to give you a bunch of premium currency because it's your first week with us or whatever. And then once you get past all like the introductory stories or like the quests and stuff like that, then it starts to slow down with the premium currency, and you start to have to save for months in order to get like 10 pools, which kind of sucks. And it's just like, do I want to be doing all of this again?
Or just move on.
As much as I liked, as much as I liked the loop, and like I thought it was very interesting as a deviation from what normal gachas I've been playing. This one was it was fun to check out. I think I enjoyed it more than Persona 5, but it just didn't have enough for me to try and play it every day from now on. So that was kind of my experience with getting back into gacha is because after I dropped Persona 5, I pretty quickly dropped Umamusume,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was like, well,
You're playing them at
I'm
like
just
the
not
same
gonna.
time for a little bit.
I think I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, well, I had my fun, I guess,
No, yeah.
and now on to better
You
things.
damn what's the term? Tourist. Just going in and out of
Yeah,
the
I just
yeah.
just
It's you're just
looking
a
at
fake
it
fan
as
of
like an
really
attraction, just like a theme
Umamusume
park.
fan or whatever.
No, I'm not. And there are a lot of people like it's got what like is it overwhelming positive on
Oh, is it
Steam
still?
or it's just like a
I
lot of
wouldn't be
people are
surprised.
grazing it.
It
Um,
yeah,
I
which
don't
I
know
understand. It seems like one of the
because
better ones, and
it's a
also
gotcha
it's
game at the
goofy,
end of the day.
lighthearted, over the top
Hmm.
animisms that people enjoy. And yeah, it seems like one of the better ones from my understanding. I might check it out at some point for like maybe a small bit, like you did, but I also may not. I don't know.
Hmm. It's very interesting because I'm not even mentioning all of the whole idol aspect because
Oh right, because
they're
yeah,
horse girls, but they're
did you
also
watch
idols, right?
those or did you just
That's
not
the
care?
model. No, I skipped every single
You
fucking
skipped
thing.
all the dialogue.
I
So
skipped
that's the thing that I
everything.
feel like a lot of people like.
I was going through it. Yeah, I was going through it at the beginning with like the your intro to
Sure,
tutorial like storyline or whatever.
you just have
It's
given a
a
shit.
visual novel, and I was just like it wasn't for me. I was more interested in the game because I heard good things about the actual gameplay and
You were there for the
the
stats, not the fucking.
it's
Oh,
very
focus.
impressive. The
Yeah,
songs are cool and like the dances
that
and
you
I
didn't
was
see,
very impressive that this is all in a gotcha game. But yeah, I saw maybe the first five
bro.
seconds that it took for me to find the
Bro,
skip
but it's
button and
everything
then
that you've been
hit
working
it.
for culminates in a song and dance. You don't want to witness that. You're just going to be
Yeah,
like, nope,
bro.
next
I
one, next
there's
race.
each career that you go through has a bunch of like a ton of moments like dialogues and like choices that you get to make
Yeah, like
and you can just fast forward through it all and I would 1,000% recommend fast forwarding through it all because it takes what would be like I don't know like a multiple hour long run and you can condense it down to like 30 to 40 minutes, which is still
yeah,
long. It feels like
no,
for a
yeah,
gotcha game. It's like something that you come back to. Like a one career can last a decent
oh,
amount of
okay,
time.
like a week or a couple of
But
weeks even in real time.
I mean, if it depends how long you nurse it.
Sure.
Like in real time, it's like if you just played straight through with the skips and like the speed ups, it would take you like maybe 20 30 minutes. Which it was very interesting to me, and it kind of attracted me at first because it's like most of the gotcha games that I play are like, okay, play this for 10 minutes and then get out of here
Hmm.
or whatever. Play this for 30 to an
Right.
hour and get your dailies, use your stamina. And this one was more like you can still there's still the dailies that you have to do, and it's still like, oh, if you win a race, then you get your rewards or whatever. But the overall career mode I thought was really fun because it's more in depth and it takes longer and it's feels like a more elevated gameplay than you might expect out
Interesting.
of gotcha game. Hmm.
Cool. Well, I'm glad your return to Gacha wasn't purely a shitty time overall, if anything.
Yeah, thank you for getting me back into them. I
Hey,
guess
hey,
it's
you're
good to
welcome.
have a
All
second phase with it.
right. I have besides the Persona 5 X, I have 4 games. Is that an amount equivalent to what you have, somewhat?
I have I have six that I want to talk
6.
about.
Okay.
Some shorter, some
All right.
longer.
Well, I guess I could go, and then like you could do 2, and then we'll figure it out. Someone will happen
We'll figure
eventually.
it out. Exactly.
So yeah, the thing that I played as a single player game experience thing, uh, I guess alongside I was playing Persona 5: The Phantom X, because it was I also ended up playing it on the Steam Deck, and that thing was Hollow Knight, the game that I owned for years as just a Steam key exclusively from one of our friends gave it to me, and I just didn't use it for years. But now I'm finally going in and put in the free game I received to use. And this is
Hmm.
a really, really great video game from a genre that I thought I sort of disliked. And now I'm sort of overall like neutral about it. I just think that this is a very, very, very good version of the Metroidvania genre of games that I feel like I would still other times not enjoy too much. I mean, to be fair, the only other experience I have with the genre is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is like okay. And then UFO 50 has one, which I kind of like, but I haven't beaten either of those. Like the UFO 50 game in that, nor the Bloodstained. But this was, I mean, it was just awesome. It was really, really good, from like the platforming to combat to exploration to like progression in general, and like the secrets, and just like the atmosphere, the visuals. It had a really solid visual style where it could bounce between like cute and creepy, and like sometimes even both. Just like super unique like visual style going on, and like the actual like map and like the various locations and the differences like between each area is distinct and cool, and the theming of like everything is like sort of like bug themed, but also sort of like skeletons, and I really like both of those things. So to see like I guess like the combination of that was really nice, but like even more so than that, just the gameplay is so solid. Like just the attacks, it works and makes sense, and the platforming is really good, and it only like those things only get better like the more you play it and the more you progress along through things, like when you get double jump and the wall jumps to spoil the power-ups you get. And it's just really cool, and like the writing and the lore, like it's very minimal and takes like a backseat to the rest of the game, but like the dialogue that does exist is also still like really solid and like well written and like goofy, sort of lighthearted sometimes, and then also like sort of serious and like mysterious and weird and like the thought provoking almost, when you get like there's like random parts of the world where there's like just like I don't know, sort of like ancient tablet type things, which just like explain some shit like you have no idea what it even means or what's even happening. But it's still like cool to see. My favorite NPC is Zote, he's basically just Don Quixote. Like just like a shitty old man fighter who thinks he's the greatest, but he actually sucks. So I loved him, and there's a lot of like, again, the Metroidvania genre, I guess maybe in general, is known for having secrets within them, and there's certainly those that exist within this game, and the ones that I encountered were pretty cool. I did not completely. There's like this optional like platforming challenge thing. I don't know if you ever encountered that or did that. It's like some secret near you could get to by like near the end of the game, and it's very long and again very challenging, which I did. I can't remember if I did all of it or not. I might have, because there's like this there's this one badge equipment thing you could get which will slowly restore health over time, which is really useful for that platforming optional segment thing where it's like if you die you just get reset like all the way back to the beginning or whatever, versus like if you fall on the spikes then you reset to the platform, so you just like do that and then you just wait until your health comes back, you know what I mean? So that's a way to exploit, I guess, that sort of difficult optional section near the end of the game. But yeah, I was just sort of wowed by this sort of every step of the way. I think it's one of the best, not just even indie games to come out, but games in general. And yeah, now I'm faithfully awaiting Hollow Knight Silksong. I'm also in the train of the wish list, watch list, whatever thing.
It'll come out.
It's this year, they said. They promised.
Yeah.
It's literally December 31st in backlog. The last day of the year.
It'll come out. I think.
Yeah.
I trust that they have.
No, yeah, they could take their time. I'm not like desperately waiting for this to come out. Like I only just beat this one. So yeah.
It's just extremely impressive for like a debut game to be this polished. It's what for many people their favorite of the genre, period, point blank, of all time. I don't think it's a flawless game. I'd have to replay it because I have it as a 4 out of 5,
Yeah,
8
same.
out of 10. And I can see that going up. Like, I haven't played it in a while, but I remember all the good things about it. And I think that's a good indication of the quality of a game. I've been, like, it's been one that I've wanted to replay. And I think I probably will when Silksong eventually drops. But it's one of the games that is like full of this like esoteric storytelling, similar to a Souls-like, where you have, like you said, there's a lot of things that are mentioned without context, and the only way you would get that context is like, oh, reading this
basically just going to
piece
the
of paper
wiki
that was
or like
behind
watching
a
the YouTube
hidden
video.
door that is like, it's like there's no real way of getting a full complete picture in one playthrough. It's just not set up that way. You can, but it's pretty hard, and you have to be pretty diligent about keeping track of everything. And so I remember the first time I got to the end of the game, and like I got to the Hollow Knight, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? How did this even happen?
I had to have
don't know
my
the
brother
context to
like
this at
would
all.
backseat me
And this
because
is
he
just
loves
one.
this game, so he would like sort of explain certain things to me, which helped my experience out a lot. Because I would otherwise be just questioning every step of the way, what is happening? Why are there these things that look like me? I don't understand what is happening. You know what I mean? Like throughout various points of like, especially near the
It's
end.
not
Of the
even
game.
a big problem that I had.
But again, the
but
story is like a
it's
backseat to
something
other
that
things.
I would like to go back to. Yeah, and the fact that there's like multiple endings and like a million different secrets that I'm sure I did not experience all of them on my first playthrough. I tried to get just about everything, but there's also the post game stuff, or like the more difficult.
There's a lot of
challenges
things from like the boss fights to like there's even like achievements of the game where like do a no death run or like beat the game within a certain amount of time or something for like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting how that is set up, because the game is meant to be sort of lost in like the way they structure the map and all of the just like the mystery and the atmosphere of the world. It's meant for you to be sort of like lost in and immersed in, and very engaging to be lost in that. And there's, I guess, that aspect that would make it really fun to try and get that expertise needed to like speed run it, or like master all the bosses. The combat is also very well in tune with that, and like the sort of fast paced, really kinetic and precise action. They knocked it out of the park with this one, and excited to see what they do next.
It's a cool game. I didn't love it like perfectly because there was definitely some points where I would get like annoyed at like various either specific boss fights maybe, but also just certain platforming shenanigans or like I don't know, just various moments throughout the thing. Because it does borrow more than just the mysterious dialogue scattered lore from like the Souls games. It also does like the it's literally called a soul, like when you die, like, and it drops and you have to go and collect it and stuff. And like sometimes, for the most part, like when that happens, they're usually generous about like putting it in a room, like in a particular part of the room where it's like not surrounded by like enemies or like where the boss would spawn. But sometimes it is in like the middle of that, which is a little annoying. But maybe people could defend that somehow. It's like it'll teach you not to die as often or poorly, because that's how you're getting punished as the player. Don't die in the boss
how you
room.
get better.
I guess I should just know the boss fight perfectly well before
better.
before fighting it for the first time. Okay, yeah. But yeah, it's a cool game. Look forward to the sequel when that comes out in exactly 4 years from now. Just kidding. It's December 31st, 2025.
Exactly 3 months from now or
it's
so.
It's actually coming out in 2 days. I can't believe
4
it.
months.
That's awesome.
Okay. What on my end, I have one that I don't have a ton to speak about. It was an indie game called Call of the Sea. I don't remember. I think I saw it mentioned in a YouTube video about games or something like that, and it intrigued me. It's a first-person adventure puzzle game. You're just walking around an island and putting together clues to solve this mystery that is the big crux of this game is the story and the mystery. It's very much a Lovecraftian inspired tale, which I think is why I was attracted to it, because I like the cosmic horror and Lovecraftian elements of
Hmm.
horror. And this one was fun for an indie project, not super engaging. The puzzles were decent, not too hard, and satisfying enough. The whole the strongest and simultaneously weakest aspect of it was the story, because there are some really interesting ideas, and the overall pace and the structure of the revelations or the answers to certain mysteries is all doled out pretty well. But it's held back by being a first person adventure with limited budget. So your character is espousing dialogue a ton of the time about very simple things that you could just like see in the environment when you're looking around. It's like every time you interact with anything, she has a voice line, which sometimes is like very well acted and super engaging and adds to the overall experience. But sometimes it's just remarking on it's like, oh, this thing is the color yellow, or like not really that basic, but it feels that way in the moment. And there's a lot of it, which makes it somewhat grating. But overall, I think it was an enjoyable experience. Pretty short, just a sort of fun kind of mystery puzzle game that I don't play a ton of, but I like whenever I do. It feels very nostalgic because I remember playing a lot of these kind of similar games back as a kid. They seem sort of akin to like a point and click adventure that I would play on like my
Hmm.
PC back at like like a Putt Putt Go or type thing. And this is definitely much more mature,
Sure.
better told. Like this is honestly it's a very pretty game. The art direction and models and certain effects are really cool. But it's definitely a smaller budget game, and it shows at times, which is why I wouldn't give it a glowing recommendation, but I'd say I definitely enjoyed my time with it. And after I did that, I decided to go back to a game that I started a while ago. I was talking about it in the last episode. That game being
Mm.
Mother, or
Hmm.
Earthbound Beginnings. And I finally played through it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's another good but flawed game. It's very dated, and there are elements to it where the jankness got in the way of what I can understand to be a really cool game. It's very similar to how I felt about Metal Gear Solid 1, where I don't. In that case, it was more about a me problem, but in this one, it seems more like there's just issues with how it's structured, and how story is given to the characters or the audience. I kind of have the opposite issue I had with the previous game called The Sea, where that one was very in your face about espousing, dialogue or different sorts of writing. This one is very reserved. It's, 1989. They're not giving you a lot of, like, incredible long-winded narratives.
Hmm.
It's very much more like Pokemon style of go to this house and speak with this character, and maybe pick up a bit of the lore, but maybe you don't. And the rest of the actual story that's going on, like the main gameplay moments, are uh, feel very loosely tied together and not really given context for. So it makes it hard for certain moments to land. Because after playing through this game, I eventually went to YouTube, to check out like what is the big deal with it. Like I enjoyed my
Hmm.
time, but there's something I feel is missing, and it's just that a lot of what people loved about this one would be solidified in Mother 2 or Earthbound.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of context that you get in that game that is not really as well implemented in the first one as it probably should have been. I still think it's a really cool experience, but I had problems with like the overworld and the random nature of combat sometimes, where it's like you could literally get done with a encounter, walk less than a pixel, and immediately get hit by another. It's like truly random in that RNG aspect of your random encounters. But man, it pissed me off sometimes where you couldn't walk down a hallway without getting hit by like 5 encounters, and it was very frustrating sometimes. The combat wasn't that tough, although I think I liked how simple it was. There's not a ton of extra systems. You have your weapons, you have your usable items, your throwables, and then you have your psychic powers or your side powers. And I like that aspect of the world. It's a very unique world of like, weird 80s America, and suburb kid life paired with the paranormal aspect of like the aliens and psychic and like weird supernatural elements to it.
Weird creatures.
It's a very intriguing blend to come out of Nintendo. It's like not really what I expect out of that brand. But I'm glad I finally checked it out. It makes me very intrigued to check out the second one, because I've heard even better things about it. The standout when I was playing was the soundtrack. It's like I recognize so many of these themes just purely from Smash Bros. And like the different arenas, and
is
Ness's
being friends from this one, or is that from
Lucas?
the second game? I don't remember. There's some in at least one song that exists in this one that maybe comes back in 2 or 3, but it also exists in Smash that I can't think of.
Yeah, don't know off the top of my head, but overall, all of the compositions were very enjoyable. The sort of bit processed music is very charming, and definitely a stronger aspect of this game that I think I would have liked to enjoy more. I understand the appeal to it and probably what is to come, and like I can see the nuggets there, but I just think it isn't polished enough. It's a little too dated. It's a little too jank, and a little too vague for how the story I feel should have been told.
But again, it's from the time period where they didn't really know what they were doing yet. I feel like the formula gets more refined, perhaps, in terms of story with like each entry in the series.
It's one of the first generation RPGs, really, and so they were still figuring out.
It was on the NES, so I mean that's as pretty early as they come.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's super interesting that you decided to tackle this one first. Like, I mean, you would think maybe it would make sense for like for other people who maybe know less about the series and how like the identity.
If you're gonna go through a series, why not?
Yeah, just go in order. What's the big deal? But it's like I feel like Mother 1 is really only like gonna be looked at by like the super hardcore fans of people who really enjoyed 2. And maybe 3 as well, and just like want to go back to like see where the roots sort of started from like that aspect to like sort of enhance the appreciation for like Earthbound, and by extension Mother 3. But yeah, I mean it's interesting that you went to this one first, and then I hope that creates a sort of unique perspective when you hopefully check out the other ones in the series. Again, the only one that I've beaten is 3. I am interested in going back to Earthbound. I don't know if I'll ever tackle this one though. It just seems like a little bit too far out there, and like I don't like the old video game isms that exist within old video games.
I can imagine this being even worse for me if I didn't have. Well,
if you don't have like emulation speed ups, like a lot of these old JRPG games sort of fall apart
Because they're built around
Yeah.
grind.
Oh yeah.
They're built around grinding
Which I
for
have some things
XP,
to
and
say
that
about
just
that with
means
one of the games
grinding
I'll talk
random
about.
encounters. Um, yeah, it's a very different style of play that we have largely grown out of.
Yeah.
And it was annoying to hit the level where you're like, oh, these new encounters are
Yeah.
way too difficult for me. I guess I just gotta walk back and forth in the field for 30 minutes and just let the auto battle
Yeah.
happens, and lo and behold, now we got 1,000 more XP. Look, I can beat all
Wow.
these people now.
Don't you love
Now I can
progression?
progress.
Because I mean,
It's
for
like
Mother
without
3, I literally
the speed
just like
up.
got a
Ooh,
save editor tool and just increased my levels through that. Like after a certain point,
that
I think,
would be incredible.
or
I
either
honestly
that,
would have
or I
loved to do that.
adjusted the experience gain you get, or something, so that like I did a
Hmm.
little bit too much because like in the save editor, it like the way it adjusts is like you don't really know like how many levels you're gonna increase by or something. Like it was something weird where I couldn't like figure it out exactly, so I over leveled myself slightly a little bit so that the final boss or like last few sections of the game were easier slightly than they maybe should have been slightly. But yeah, that one's
Hmm.
good, and Earthbound seems cool, and yeah, it's interesting and cool that you checked out this one, though, the origins of the series that you have yet to get to the other ones for.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's strange why this
You're
was the
playing
first
history.
one. Like, I still haven't played any of the like Zelda games. I
No,
haven't
yeah.
played none of them, or like still none of the Metroid games, or like there's so many
Hey,
classics that I haven't.
but now you understand the
I wouldn't
lore
really have expected
almost of
Mother to
one
be
more
one of
Smash
them.
character. Not quite though, because Nintendo is not
Exactly.
in Smash.
Yeah.
He appears
It's
as a
not
sticker
Ness. Yeah.
and in Brawl, and he
Yeah.
probably is a oh god, what's the term? Spirit. He's probably a spirit in Smash Ultimate. So he probably appears in the
That
game,
could be.
just like not as a playable character, or even a Mii
Yeah.
costume.
No. I would be very easy to mistake Nintendo as
They
Ness
look the
though.
exact
They are
same.
like damn near the same protagonist. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I also played an old JRPG, except specifically I played a newer version of an old one in the form of a remake,
Mm.
that being Dragon Quest
Hmm.
3 HD 2D remake. Um, and I think this game is really cool in a lot of ways. It has a great visual style, and the music is really nice. I think they redid like most of it, and maybe it was one that you could swap between the soundtracks because I know some remakes do that, but I forget if this was one that allowed for that or not. Um, and it has voice acting, which is cool and interesting, despite because like the original release of the game came out, I think, also on the SNES, or excuse me, the NES, and then it was like remade on the SNES, and then now this is like essentially a remake of a remake. It was also on a bunch of other
Hmm.
systems. I feel like a lot of these old Japanese RPG games, they tend to get remade a lot of times. Like there's like 5 different versions of Final Fantasy IV or some shit. you know, and like this is just one of those for 3 here, and it has voice acting, which I think is substantial for this series. Where I've only played 11 besides this one, which I haven't beaten because I played 11 at a point in time in my life where I wasn't consistently beating video games. I was just kind of playing them and be like, okay, next one. Sort of that was the mindset I was on. Um, and so, but like in that one, even there's I can't remember if it was fully voiced. I don't think it was. But the series emphasizes like a wide array of accents among the like main cast, but also a lot of the NPCs, and like each town you'll go to is sort of just like a different sort of world accent of our game, and that's reflected in like the very over the top dialogue where it's just super in that it's basically a foreign language almost that you're reading. Sometimes it literally is like they just might speak French like straight up, and for like a game that emphasizes that to then on top of that have it be voice acted, I feel like adds to it. The voice acting overall is just like kind of okay, and it only plays during like
Hmm.
certain main story moments, which are sort of sparse in this one, because similar to your complaints about Mother, this one is also very grindy. From my understanding, the original one was worse, and they improved it here, but still not even anywhere close to enough. Because like at the start of the game, I was like, going into it like, oh, it's a little grindy here and there, that's fine, whatever. And so like an encounter like even somewhat early on, like a point where it's like, oh, I'm a little under leveled for this portion of the game, so I just ended up running around in circles for like, excuse me, for like 5 minutes or so, and then I got to a point where I was competently leveled enough to go to the, progress to the next area in like a fine enough way. And so like at that point I was like, oh, okay, so if just every once in a while I have to just take a step away from progressing in the world and just go around in circles for 5 minutes and then beat up dudes, and then I'm competently leveled, and then I go to the place. If I just have to do that every once in a while, that's okay, and I can deal with that.
You can put up
Except
with
that's
it,
not how the
yeah.
game is, because obviously this is a thing in every RPG ever, but like each level gets you like less and less experience, or you require more of it through each level. So like it's going to be that much longer each time you get to a new area, and you're like, oh, I have to level up some more now. Like if you have to say like level up on average like 2 times for like each new location, you just have to like grind out 2 levels. It's just going to be that much more time spent doing that, because each level is going to require more experience and more fights proportional to like each level increase, which is silly and annoying and should not exist in the games releasing in the 2025 year. So yeah, that sort of turned me off quite a bit from this one, because I got to the point where it's like, because like when I was like, oh, I could just switch to easy mode, because I was playing on normal the whole time. But I'm like, oh, when I'm grinding and I'm just doing levels like just like brainless shit, I might as well just go to easy mode to get more levels, and I don't have to go back and heal like as often and stuff. And so like I swapped to easy mode, and then I was like, well, if I'm gonna go to easy mode, I might as well grind for levels that are of higher level and will grant more experience, which will be in the area that previously kicked my butt on normal mode. But on easy mode, I could just exist in there, and I could grind out levels there rather than the area directly before that, which was what I was doing before on normal mode. So I would go to the slightly more difficult areas on easy mode, and then I would get in there, and I'd be like, well, I might as well just like wander around, rather than just going in complete circles. I might as well just explore the area and just like as I grind out levels and just like get all the optional shit and stuff. And then I'll just definitely switch back to normal once I fight the boss or whatever in the area. So then I explored the area on easy mode, doing the encounters there, leveling up dudes, and then I encountered the boss, and I get to a point where like I can't remember if I did it purposely or just brainlessly, or if I thought it was gonna not advance me directly into the fight. But I get into the boss fight on easy mode as I was still sort of grinding out levels, and I end up beating him there. And so I'm like, well, like I don't know what to do from that point. Should I just stay on easy because the next area is probably gonna be more challenging that much more, or should I like when do I switch? Like I don't even know anymore. And so I just get to the point where I'm like, I'm in this weird state where it's like it almost the whole experience feels pointless, where it's like it's every area I would get to would either I have to grind out experience for increasingly longer and longer times through like each area, or I just play through the whole game on easy in like brainless mode. Like I have 2 options, and neither of them are good. So I ended up dropping this one just because I'm like, I don't want to be all about that, which is unfortunate, because I do think there's a number of things going on that make this cool and unique, other than just the visual style and the music, which I mentioned earlier. There's like the entire like job class system in this one, which is cool. You basically you have 4 party members, and the main protagonist is I think for the most part stuck on like this one sort of main class that's sort of like a jack of all trades type of thing, but you can maybe transition out of it eventually, maybe, I think. Because the way that like reclassing works is like once you hit level 20, you could then have any unit swap over to a different class where their level will be reset to 1 and all of their stats will be cut in half. But like in doing so, when they reach level 1, it will be that much quicker for them to gain experience. You know what I mean? So it's this weird system, which I think is really cool, but it's also like weird in that it tries to, I think, combat the grinding, because then you gain levels quicker, So like, but then you have to grind more to catch back up to that point. But then after that point, grinding becomes easier. But then you'll end up like swapping classes maybe like 3 times or something in one playthrough for like each character, and so you're like cutting their stats in half each time. And then by the time they hit level 10 in that new one, they'll be at the equivalent of level 20 before that, I think. But then after that point, they'll be better than if you just had stuck them with in the same one in terms of stats. Because there's also merits to keeping them in it because they get like more skills, or they're like more likely. Because I think it's random, like when you get skills or not for each class upon level up. It's random whether you get them or not. And there's like a certain minimum level for each of them. So that's interesting. So there's like merits to keeping them in just one for a long time to get particular abilities and whatnot. But yeah, it's just like, it's cool, but like I don't know, it's weird. I didn't know how to fully think about it when it comes into play with the grindiness of the game in general. And oh yeah, there's personalities, which is pretty cool. In like the older Fire Emblem titles, and some of them, they have like items that let you like change the growth rates of the characters, and that's basically what personalities are in this game. They're basically just like growth rates that determine like how often characters will increase each stat upon level up. And when you get characters initially, they'll have a particular one, and then there's items that permanently change them or temporarily change them through like equipment slots and stuff. And so I found like that aspect of it to be really cool and fun and interesting, because it's like maybe in certain parts of the game you want this character to have this sort of personality to lean them more this way, and then you swap it to something else later once they have like enough in the whatever stat you're trying to get. I wasn't completely like on top of that because I didn't know much about the game going into it. So I feel like upon replay of it, if that was ever a thing that I would do, I feel like that would be a cool, like a more interesting system to like be aware of, like, oh, at this point in the game this thing happens, so I want this character to be on like this sort of stat growth or something like that. Either way, it was cool though. Oh yeah, and then the auto battle system, like I rarely use these in video games. There's this YouTuber called Bubble Tea who does mostly Persona content. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They like Persona 3 a lot, and specifically they like the like older versions of it. And specifically they like the like, they're actually cool with the fact that in the original and FES that the party members don't follow your commands directly. Part of that is because like the story, I guess, sort of makes sense that you're like, as the player, not directly controlling them, or like the protagonist doesn't have like full like control over their actions, is not like some overlord. Like I guess I forget, they I think explained in one of their videos how it like makes sense in the story or whatever. But they also like it in terms of gameplay because there's like a learning curve and process to it, where it's like you want certain characters to be on like, because they don't just like act brainlessly at all times. You could sort of set like predetermined like act in this particular way.
Yeah.
And so he went over how like there is like some sort of strategy and like interesting things involved with specifically the original and FES's version of that. And then 3 Reload, like the party AI is like somehow worse when you let them do like when you do it via rather than direct commands, you do the asset type of auto things from them. It's like somehow worse or whatever. And for my whole life, I was like, this auto shit is stupid. I want to be able to have full control and freedom and stuff like that. But in this game, there's actually merits to it when it becomes to like specifically healing and stuff. Because like the way that battles in this game work is you choose each command first, and then like the actual combat phase turns take place. Which is based on, I think just like the character speed or something will determine like the turn order. And so like there's no true way of knowing what the enemy is going to do and when like you'll like have the opportunity to do certain things, because you don't maybe necessarily know when your characters will go versus when the enemies will go. And so when it comes to healing especially, it's like you don't know if like an enemy's going to attack the player A, and that sets them to half health, and then character B who can heal acts, and then another enemy attacks player A, which would kill him. And so, like, if you don't know that both of those enemies are going to attack him, you just may not heal him or whatever. But the AI will know that. So if you set like the whatever to like focus on healing, they'll know that like, oh, he'll get attacked, so I'm going to heal him. Versus like the player who will have like no idea. So I thought like that was interesting. Because like even the non like grindy fights I would usually have like my healer set on that. Because it was just like more useful than me trying to guess like each time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have some background information that is a little more useful.
Well, just the AI, they know more than me.
Yeah, exactly. They have aspect to the code.
Yeah, they're communicating with the enemy, so they're like, okay, you go, and then I go, and then you go. Okay, I got it. Versus me, I have no idea. So that's interesting. I think the game used to have limited item space because there was just like some dialogue about how a character was pointing out how shit was infinite. So it made me think that the original games probably did not have infinite item space or nearly that. I don't know why that's in my notes. It's not that important of a detail. The other thing, which was weird, I think there was inaccuracy in the HP and MP bars in showing like proportions of how much of it you have remaining. Because you would expect like if you have 40 HP and you lose 10 of that, then your health bar would be like 3/4 of like the full meter, and like a quarter of it will be like sort of empty. But in this game, for some reason, I think it's a little bit off. Like you'll lose a quarter of your health, but you'll only lose like 1/8 of your HP meter, which doesn't make sense. But then like when you're halfway, it's accurate. So I don't know like what they did to like make it look that way and why it's not completely accurate on like the more extreme sides of the bars, but like in the middle it's fine. Like I don't know, it was just weird. So that was a thing. That's like the only I guess UI downside thing. And yeah, I would maybe consider going back to this if I really wanted to sit through the grindiness of it, but it eventually just got a little bit pointless to me because of that. Like either I grind a billion times or I just stick to easy mode, which I don't know. It was like okay and cool, and like the game's quirky and nice looking, and there's a number of things going on that make it interesting, but yeah, it just was something that I could not fully get into, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely very easy to bounce off of like old JRPGs or just old games in general. There's like we went through the process with Metal Gear Solid, and it's like that's not even that old of a game, but it's like as the games you start playing are older and older, there are certain systems and quality of life things that are just not going to be there, and it makes it very hard to try and go through the effort to deal with those shortcomings, or what we perceive as shortcomings currently.
Some people might be like, "Oh, that's normal."
To deal with like the
if
stronger
they grew
aspects.
up with it or something.
Yeah,
for me,
or it's like oh, it's
like,
yeah, it's a product of the time for sure, and it's like a relic of a time in gaming that we are, we are not privy to right now. But I'm kind of glad about that. I'm glad things have changed. I'm glad there's more emphasis on putting, player happiness first. Really,
if the game's fun, why bother?
Rigid, it's less obtuse. Yeah,
or if the game's not fun, did I say not?
We have
in that sentence. Oops. Yeah,
we've taken that the concept to the logical extremes where like certain games are purely about just get dopamine, hit button number big. Or like
a lot of gacha games.
Gacha games are pretty close to that. And spending money on that definitely changes the whole dynamic. But it's interesting to kind of trace back where a lot of these things came from, and that is from like classic RPGs like Dragon Quest and all of that stuff. I have honestly never thought about going through that series. It's like I understand it's historic and like it has a
Yeah,
place in gaming
yeah.
history, but it's also the fact that like I know what the game is gonna be like. I've played many JRPGs now.
This
I've
one's
played
different
a
though,
lot of them,
somehow.
and they're all so big, and I understand that they offer different
Sure.
things. It's just the story, right? Because the gameplay aspects will be different, but the core genre of JRPG is going to offer you the same things. And so, but the problem with getting back into old JRPGs is because you also have to deal with all that jank.
Yeah.
So
You
there's
have to
just
be in that mindset
many
of like I have
factors
to
that
accept
are
this. And like they're
barring
going
me
to be that
from
much
getting
more
into
easier
this.
on emulator like
Yeah.
with what you did for like the speed up options. Like if I had that I would maybe go
Yep.
through it with it
Yeah.
more if I just had a save editor that would just be like okay, I increased the levels and now I am in the new area and I could just proceed like normal. Like if I just had access to that I would
Hmm.
probably would have beaten it by now, but like since that is not a thing that exists, it just feels like almost a worse version of
Yep.
it. The fact that
It's
like
not
I'm not
worth it.
emulating
Yeah.
it
It's
because
just
the
it's
other thing is like this
pointless
is
to
a
try and put
remake.
in the
It's like
work.
you have the you're making this game in the modern day where you like have all these other games that have come out since the original release of it. So you have like these number of ways that you could fix this or like make it better or improve upon it. And they do in a number of ways. There are like a lot of smaller things they like try to balance to some extent. There was like this one class, the Monster Wrangler, which upon the release of the game was OP, and I think they put in a patch to nerf it, sort of, to make the other classes more okay. So like they have done a number of like smaller changes in like the gameplay and like enemy stats and like versus like when you get certain skills and stuff like that. Like they did a bunch of gameplay balances, but they didn't like fix the core issue of now I'm sitting here for the next hour running in circles defeating the same dudes over and over again. It's like you didn't fix the main issue here. Like I appreciate that you guys did the
Hmm.
other stuff. That's nice. But the main thing is still just sort of sitting there front and center. So it's like, well, that's what the game is.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe I'll just bounce off
I would recommend it if you could do a
on
speed
my.
up or a save editor. If you don't, then just like then why bother? Type of thing.
Might not be worth it. Yep. Just look up a YouTube video of all the cutscenes,
All the cutscenes for the
all the
fucking
story
Dragon Quest 3.
moments.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's not. It has a story, but it's not the most groundbreaking, interesting shit ever. It's
Hmm.
like a prequel to 1 and 2, which is interesting. But other than that, like
Okay.
it doesn't matter that much.
On my end, I'm gonna be talking about a game that I replayed and one that I
Ooh.
talked about earlier, like when one of our first episodes. That being Liza P, because they just released the new DLC, Liza P Overture, and
Mm.
I had to hop on it because I was kind of meaning to replay a game that I liked, and I was like, ooh, I remember playing Liza P last year. That was really fun. And then, oh, they have DLC? I might have to check that out. I was looking to kind of play a game in that Souls-like area, and
Hmm.
I'm very glad I got to check it out again because I played from the beginning. I played through a whole new, fresh playthrough,
Oh, nice.
as well as the DLC. And this second playthrough just solidified my happiness with this game. It's definitely one of my favorite Souls likes, and I've really only played the FromSoft games. So
Hmm.
to put it up there amongst the best of their games, as a simple copycat of what the originators created, is super impressive. I think it's just so much polish here. They understood what makes a Souls-like game tick, and they translated it perfectly. The world is fantastic. I still love the whole Pinocchio aspect of it, and the DLC just adds even more to it because the whole aspect of the narrative behind Lies of P is it's much more straightforward and less obtuse than any of the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whatever. Because FromSoft is very stingy about how much like story they actually offer the player
Hmm.
and how much they leave in the secret one sentence on a
Right.
consumable item that you pick up and throw
Yeah.
away immediately is actually like the most important aspect of the entire lore to Elden Ring that there's ever been. It's like, okay, uh, I would have liked to be able to be shown that or told or that in a way that is not just a single sentence on a
On
consumable.
a piece of bread.
But Liza P scratches that itch because it's much more straightforward. Story's great. Overture takes that narrative aspect and runs with it. It's even more story focused, and I like the story a lot. It's actually a great DLC, just like a very contained kind of story. Long story short, it plays with time travel. You get sent back in time in order to deal with a event that's happening, and the whole narrative it reminds me a lot of Batman: The Killing Joke, or no, The Death in the Family, which is the comic line where Jason Todd dies, and there are a lot of interesting similarities between that comic line and this DLC. I always really liked Liza P because you can see their inspirations on their sleeve really clearly. Like they have a bunch of references to a lot of things that I like, and there's the, I think it's definitely purposeful that they have a lot of Batman elements in their inspirations, and I like seeing that in a Souls like. I think it fits really well in how they weave it into the wider world of a Pinocchio era like just adventure. I was very pleased with this DLC. It's harder than the base game. Difficulty is really satisfying, though. I think it's pisses you off definitely for certain bosses or certain just mob trash enemies that like swarm you and get a bunch of cheap hits out. Because it felt like they bumped up the pressure and the aggression of a lot of the enemies, or a lot of the new enemies, I guess. So there's a different pace of play to the DLC. But yeah, definitely solidified this game as one of my favorite Souls likes, and it was a blast to go through it again and get to experience a very polished DLC on top of it. It adds, more weapons, more Legion arms, more story, more everything, and all in that same polished package that the base game was. So if you liked the original Liza P, you're just gonna enjoy your time with the DLC just as much. And then if we want to, I can talk about another game that I checked out immediately after that, which was the game Pacific Drive. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that one.
I don't think so, no.
It's a really interesting one. I think it's a debut game from another indie studio, and this was the one where you drive a car. It's a roguelike where it's a roguelike survival game where you are bound to a car, a supernatural car in this exclusionary zone, akin to a Chernobyl, where inside that zone things are all weird. The laws of physics are fucked up, and there's paranormal shit happening. And you get thrown in there for some reason, and you bind with this thing called a remnant, which is just a paranormal object of great power. And it turns out this remnant takes the shape of an old beat up car. And so the lore behind what remnants are is that, they are objects that bind with a user, and force them to slowly lose their mind and become obsessed with the object. And so this object, being a beat up car, is very interestingly played against the gameplay loop, which is going on drives, going on runs throughout the environment of this exclusionary zone to pick up loot, to pick up resources, so you can take it back to a garage and work on the car to make it better. Because at first you have like shitty spare tires and like the doors falling off and like the engine doesn't run well.
You turn
So
into
you're like,
Theseus's
okay,
car
well,
or
I need
someone.
to get a lot of rubber. Yeah, it becomes a very different thing, but the soul is there, and they translate that in gameplay terms really interestingly, because there are things like you can pick up called quirks, where it's just like certain things will happen as you're driving that you're like, what the fuck? I turned my wipers on and the right front door opened. Like, why would that happen? And so you can diagnose those on a computer at the garage. And you're like, okay, so when my car goes up a hill, my headlights will turn on no matter what. Or like if I turn the radio on, then my car will beep. And there's like, you'll pick up a lot of those quirks, is what they call it, throughout the game. And it makes it really interesting and personal, the kind of journey that you go on with this car, because it's the only thing that is keeping you safe in an exclusionary
Right.
zone. There's a bunch of different obstacles and hazards. They're like weird kind of paranormal, like aliens or like monsters. They're not really directly monsters. They more seem like passive forces of nature that are just they like if you are in their vicinity, then they're gonna fuck with you. Or it will be weather that fucks with you. That it's like, oh, this is a random corrosive
Uh-huh.
rainstorm, or there's a electromagnetic squall that is fucking up with your lights and
Can you
stuff like
fight
that.
back, or do you just have to like go away
And
or something?
nope, you just have to go in your car. Your car is what keeps you safe. It
You
blocks out
can't like
most
run
of
them
the
over
ambient
in the car
radiation
or
or
something.
damage.
Or are they just like that strong?
Nope. There are certain enemies that are
Super
like that you
big.
can actually engage with. There are ones that are called like bunnies or hops that like will attach themselves to your car and do like random negative effects usually. And so you can kind of hop out of your car. Well, first of all, you have to park your car, turn off the ignition, and then hop out of your car in order to throw it off. It's very much an immersive sim in that way, where all of the actions that you're doing in game is like handled as if you are physically enacting it. So if you're turning the wiper on, you kind of have to look at the wiper and flick it or activate it. If you want to turn the key in the ignition, you have to look at the key and actually interact with it. And it adds to this sort of tactile environment and gameplay loop that really makes it easy to just kind of get lost in it, and it's very satisfying getting the upgrade or getting the resources in order to upgrade your car or upgrade the workstation at the shop in order so that you can get even better
Mhm.
things. It's a really satisfying loop, and the idea that it's a roguelike was such an interesting aspect to me, because the exclusionary zone is always shifting because there's a bunch of forces of chaos or whatever. And going on each run will offer different environmental effects or different events for each of the nodes that you're traveling through. And it adds to the replayability, but I do think that the biggest problem I had with the game was the pacing, because the story is told throughout, and you're following it pretty closely, getting resources as it's told in like audio logs or over radio, because there's not a ton of direct narrative influence. You're mostly just having it happen as you're passively playing, which is kind of nice because it's a driving game, and it adds to the fact that, oh, you're mostly just listening to it in the background while you're continuing your run. But there are problems towards the end where once you have basically uh, fully upgraded your car or gotten most of the upgrades that you want, the runs have also gotten to the point where they get longer over the course of the game. So as you hit your peak car earlier than you finish the story, and so there's a bit of a gap between that time where you fully upgrade your car and the point where the story stops, where the runs are taking longer, and there's not really anything to do on those runs because you're not looking for resources anymore. You're not looking for like spare parts that you can further upgrade your car with. You're mostly just driving through these areas, and at that point, I was just basically driving through the areas straight shot towards the exit, not engaging with any of the points of interest or resources that you could grab because I was already done with the game essentially.
Hmm.
So that was a bit of a problem towards the end. But overall, I really, really enjoyed my time with this game. It's very strange for me. I never would have expected to enjoy a game about, taking care of a car, just like being that gear monkey in the shop, working, sweating, taking off the engine, cleaning it, like drying, putting in the gas, and it's very kind of meditative in the way they get you to do all these routines where every time you go back to shop, you gotta fill up on gas, you gotta charge the battery, you gotta make sure you have all your resources and your repair kits so that when you go on the runs, you aren't going to run into a flat tire, because at least hopefully you're carrying a spare, or at least you would carry like a repair kit. I've heard this game compared to like a Subnautica type survival game, where I still haven't played that game, but after playing this one, Pacific Drive, I am much more engaged and probably much more looking forward to eventually playing through Subnautica and survival games like that, because I don't play them all that often, but there's definitely an appeal to it, and I think I'd like to play more.
Yeah, I own Subnautica. I also haven't gotten around to it yet. Is there a sequel for that, or is it coming out, or is it, what's the deal with that?
I think there's one coming out. There was like a DLC probably that dropped
maybe.
or something, but
Yeah, cool. This game sounds unique and interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of it or anything. Is it indie? I guess
can't remember
technically
where
that's what it's
I
tagged
saw.
on Backlog. So interesting stuff here that we're hearing today. For my next game, I did not end up playing a first-person car roguelike simulator thing. Though I did play, just like how you played Lies of P, I did play a Souls-like game, or something that could vaguely be considered to be that. Except rather than playing the absolute pinnacle, the peak of the genre that Lies of P is, I actually hit what is the absolute midtown of the genre, that being Stellar Blade. Which is it's a game that some people have known about. We talked about it a little bit in a previous episode, specifically with this YouTuber dude Sean's really good video. I haven't gone back to that since after beating this, where he had the video about like what's his name, Grums or whatever, the developer in quotes person.
It's like Twitter guy, whatever.
Twitter personality. Yeah. Okay. About like the game itself, sort of like a review of it, but then also like the larger like community viewing of the game, which like it's pandering for a number of reasons. It just has to be said, and it's very obvious, to the point where I feel like it doesn't even need to be said. I mean, I'm just looking at the backlogged page of it, and like the background of it is just Eve's, who's the protagonist. It's just her butt on the fucking the fucking background of the screen. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, like stuff, she is okay. Like the hottest video game character ever created. Like I guess besides
made in a lab.
Technically sort of, because like because I mean the way you would defend it is like, oh, she's based on a real person or whatever, which is true. It was that like what's it called, the motion fucking when you stick a person with a bunch of dots and track mocap. It was mocapped, and the model was based on a real model person. So it does create one of the most attractive female characters in video games, who would be number one if Tifa Final Fantasy did not exist. No, I do not have a type. Anyways, Stellar Blade as a video game, removed from the pandering isms of just her design, and also there's like a bunch of outfits or whatever, which the outfits do look nice and are like cool and like well detailed and stuff, and there's like a decent sort of variety in that, but like they're still very like pandering, like most of them out there. Anyways, but the rest of the game as a whole can be summarized as just decent. It does a number of things, and it does them reasonably well, to the point where I could play it. And I could understand it, and I could beat it, and I could mostly have fun with it. It just isn't spectacular in any particular thing that it does. It has a story. I stopped paying attention to it maybe a quarter of the way through, or even less. I don't know. It just sort of seemed okay. I did for some reason, I paid more attention to the side quests, which were very boring, and just uninteresting, both in story and the actual gameplay of it. They're basically all the side quests are fetch quests. So that was a thing that happened in it. And the combat is interesting because it tries to do the Souls thing, but then it also has like a more traditional action RPG progression thing where there's like a skill tree, and then there's also collectibles which increase your health and attack and like stuff like that. And it does the Souls thing where there's like bonfires. They're called camps in this one. And like when you die, you go back to them, but there's no like major like Souls penalty for dying where like you have to go reclaim your fucking lost body or whatever. Other Souls thing, what was it? Oh yeah, and like you have like only so many heals that get restored when you go back to the camps and stuff. And the way the camps work, I had to like go back and double check this because I just completely forgot about it. But the way that it works is that you need a particular material to activate them. You need these things called Vita coins or Vita coins or Vita coins. I don't know because English is not a language that dictates how you say a word based on whether you could read it or not. But anyways, you activate it by putting a Vita coin into like this vending machine thing. It's like a dystopian world and stuff. It's basically a copy of another video game, which I'll compare it to in a second. You insert a Vita coin into the vending machine, and that activates the camp. So then from there you could rest and like upgrade equipment and like whatever stuff. And so the whole idea of that is like in theory, because the Vita coins are spent on just allowing a camp to exist in the first place, like reactivating it because it's just like a dormant thing, and then you like give it power with supplying it a Vita coin. Or you could also spend Vita coins in shops for either like outfits or gear and stuff. So the idea is like a payoff sort of system. Either I make sure I have them for like overworld exploration stuff, or like when I'm in the more dungeony areas, and I'm exploring stuff, and I want to make sure I could activate the camps and stuff. And so that would be the balance that the game tries to put out there. But at like every camp in the game, almost basically, there's just a Vita coin like right like on it, like in it. So you just like collect that one, and then you just activate the camp through that. Like it feels genuinely so strange because I just completely forgot that was a thing to begin with. I thought like, oh, you just like go there and you activate it. Like I didn't even remember that like, oh, it requires a resource to activate, because every time you go to that place you get the resource that activates it. It just is like a completely like, what is happening? It feels like they intended it for it early on, and then they maybe meant to remove it, but then they were just like, fuck it, we'll just soft remove it by keeping it in, but having it be just an ignored thing that doesn't matter. It's really strange, and I didn't actually consider it until rereading some stuff about this game in preparation for this episode. So that was a thing that happens. Another thing it tries to do is platforming during certain sections of the game, and the platforming is just complete dog shit. You eventually unlock a double jump, but like even then, it's just like it's so hard to control, and like certain areas are so precise, and there's like a handful of moments in the story where it's just like it's so confusing to like how you're supposed to navigate a thing. Like eventually, I figured it out. But it's just like strange and unintuitive, like the platforming of it and like where you're supposed to exactly navigate to and from and stuff like that. For the story and just like dialogue in general, there's like no skip button for a lot of the cutscenes. I ended up just letting them play out for gameplay footage anyways, and I like would zone in and out of them at various points through like the later parts of the game. And it's weird because there's no like skip cutscene button thing or whatever, which like I don't know if that's somewhat typical for story-driven games. I feel like it's not though. Like like even in the Persona games, you could at least fast forward through them. And there's not like a hard skip.
It's starting to become a thing, but
it's not in like everything, and it's not in this. You can skip some dialogue things, like just like when they're talking, you press like the A button or whatever, and then it'll advance it just by one line. But you could only do that once they've spoken through half of the line. So like when the line first appears and you press A, it does nothing. But then when their voice gets halfway through that line, then you could advance it to the next thing. It's just the weirdest thing, and I don't understand like why. Like if I'm gonna skip this shit anyways, just let me do it earlier.
What's the decision between that?
Like what are you like blocking me out from? Why did you do that? And then there's some you just can't skip at all. Like you'll get past to the halfway point, and I'll like press A, and it'll just do nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sit here and let the game do its epic story lore dump or whatever. Oh yeah, so the game it has to be compared to Nier Automata because that's just like a masterclass of a video game and a great action RPG with a cool story and characters and a fun world, and like cool themes, both like thematic themes and also like music and stuff like that. And that takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where you play as this super attractive, sexy, epic android called 2B, and it's a game that features a lot of endings. There's 3 main ones, and then in total there's 26 or 7, like in total. And like if you take that maximum number and subtract 3 from it, then you get like a bunch of just joke endings essentially. And this game replicates a number of things from Nier, from just the fact that the protagonist is just an android. You're in this post-apocalyptic world thing trying to help humans or summon, sort of like 2B was in Nier Automata. And maybe the sort of the combat action RPG combat in general. But then also the fact that Nier Automata has multiple endings, and this game does also. Except the main difference is that in Nier Automata, you play as 2B, you beat the game as her, and that's one route. And then you play as 9S, who's this other character, and you beat the game as him, and then that's route B. And then you play the game the third time as this other character, A2, and that's the third route. And then there's like maybe a fourth small thing or something for like the true ending. And the way that it works in this game is you beat the game once as Eve, and that's the first ending, and then you play it again as Eve, and that's the second ending, and play it again as Eve again, and it's the third one. Because the way it works is just like at the very end of the game, there's like a dialogue tree of like 2 options, and you just choose one of them, and that sets you to like one of 2 endings. And before that, there's like this other optional thing that you do, which determines what one of the optional dialogue choices in the future, like at the end of the game, is. So it's 3 options in total, and it's just on New Game Plus, you just speed through the game again until you get to the very end where you do the other choices that you did not previously do.
So you get a different cutscene at the end for
pretty
all
much.
of that effort.
And so the other thing is like Nier Automata doesn't have my favorite implementation of the optional or of like the different story routes and stuff, because 9S's campaign is almost identical to 2B's for like 99% of it. The main difference just comes down into like how the combat works. But other than that, it's like you're going from the same objective to like one objective to another in like the same exact order. The same dialogue will occur like pretty much for the most part. So I don't love that part of the game. It's honestly probably the weakest part of Nier Automata. But this one, it's just literally each route is the exact same. You know, it's just that route split at the very
Nier,
end.
it's like with Nier, you had the narrative momentum of, oh, this is happening for a reason. There's like a structure to the game that I'm now playing through. The same thing in a different
It changed a lot more with
so
A2
you have a lot of
compared to
layers
like
with
2B and 9S. It's just that the routes A and B had a little bit, in my opinion, too much in common. But like, yeah, because the story is so much better, you're still like more motivated to push through route B if that's not your favorite thing ever in that game. Because I did enjoy like the combat of it. I just felt like it could have afforded to be a little bit more different, which it was eventually, but it took a while. Because that motivation there does not exist in this one. Like I was thinking I would maybe 100% it just to say that I did, but I ended up not doing that because I'm like, I just don't want to be bothered with that.
Motivation's not there.
I just don't feel like that. Like it doesn't seem quite so worth it to me. Because like in every way, this game is, if you compare it to directly to Nier Automata, which is one of the best action RPG things in general. And you compare it, like if you compare the two things, it's basically just worse in every way. And it's really annoying that this game is like, in the modern day, Nier Automata is, you could buy it for like maybe $20 or something, or 30, and this one is going for like 70. It just doesn't make sense. And like this game looks really nice, but it's not worth that $70 price tag, I feel like, especially for like a game, I don't know, 7 or 8 years older than it. That's way better. That was basically just what this game copied from, with no originality. It's basically just copy like all these aspects without legitimately thinking about certain things. It's like one of those, which is real fun and nice. I'm glad that that's the way the world and the society works, man. So yeah, that's sort of this game summed up. The like skill tree is mostly uninteresting. It's basically just like, a lot of it is like, get a new, like, increase the amount of like combo attacks you could do. So like if you do this thing, then if you press or hold these two buttons after it, then you do this thing, which like I just did not remember any of that at all, because there's way too many of them. And just playing on normal mode, like the just regular basic attack combo, or like the heavy attack combo, was like more than enough, like alongside the other abilities you get, like was just enough for me to like get through the game in a reasonable way. Maybe on hard mode, I would care more about like every time I do this thing, I hold down the triangle button for this specific attack, and then follow it up with a three squares and the triangle. It's like I'm not gonna keep track of all that though. But it's like it's literally like 30 things that you unlock through like each of the things that will like increase the like combo attack chain of a particular, like during a very particular circumstance. And I just could not be bothered to memorize all of that essentially nonsense. It's just like another screen to like fluff out of like, you are progressing because you hold down a button, and then the little blue meter shows up that to show that you unlocked the thing from playing the game longer. Okay, I did do that. Yep. Yeah. The game also doesn't have good maps, which is interesting, especially when we get to the next game, which has the greatest map in gaming. But the maps in this, they like they exist in like there's like 2 overworld places that you go to that have maps in them, but then the like other overworld places just like don't. They just don't have mini maps, or like maps that you could look at and open up. Which is like, I feel like in a game like this, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're already copying all these other things from Nier Automata. Nier Automata has a really good map in its game that's like sort of 3D, and you can like move around and like you navigate around it, where you like swap it to 2D by like if you just like look straight up at it, and then like you could also just like, it's a cool map in that game, and like you're copying all these other fucking things. Why not copy another good thing from that game? No map. You don't know where you're going if you're trying to go back and get like collectibles you missed, like I was doing. So that was silly, and there's just like a weird choice. Like there is a compass, that like horizontal bar at the top of the screen, which will like, when you're pointing in a certain direction, things will move. A compass in the video game, blah blah blah. They did have that, but by default it would only display during certain moments, so you had to go into the settings and just be like, turn this shit on at all times, please. It's like it was a weird thing there. Other than that, it could be summed up as fan servicey. There's other things going on for sure. It's not just that pure fan service stuff. It's not like the whole game is like literally gawking at her. There's no like horny over the top pervert characters or anything revealing that. It's only in the player and what they make of the outfits. You could go all out with the Gooner nonsense. It's on Steam now, so you could mod it up, make certain parts of her body even bigger or smaller in accordance to your preferences. Or you could just put her in like one of the outfits that just completely covers her entire body and just play through the game like that. Yeah, that'll work if you don't care about that. yeah, it has things going on. It doesn't completely nail every single aspect of them. It just is sort of overall, I would say, like it's still good overall. Like maybe that doesn't seem like it to be that way based on what I've been saying about it, but like compared to at least like the game I talked about last time, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, like at least I could play this game and get through it at like a reasonable pace, and like not just like get completely blocked out of like, oh, I can't do this until I fucking do some other random shit for like a million years. So at least I could play the game and beat it and like have mostly sort of fun with it, despite it not being perfect. So that's my merit on that. It is a decent game overall. Is it overhyped? I guess it's also overhated. I would also say is a little bit of both, which is interesting. So yeah, it's a video game that exists. It's decent. If you like action RPGs, you might like it. If you like Gooner nonsense, you will love it. So that's my take.
Yeah. The the discourse surrounding 6 to 7 out of 10 games is just they don't know what to do with it. It's either it
You
has
have to
to be
love it
either
or
10
hate
out of
it.
10 or
Bro,
1 out
is
of
there
10.
no nuance to
There's
anything?
no more
Could
6
we not have
to
civil
7.
discussions like
Why
this
can't it just
podcast
be?
we have?
Oh yeah, it's a decent game.
Yeah,
It's a good game.
it's a good game.
It's not great. It's there. It's playable. There are many aspects to it that I disliked, but overall, if you're just trying to game as a way to experience
Yeah.
entertainment or escapism, whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
serviceable. And sometimes that's all you need from a game.
That sums this one up.
But on my end, I have one to just briefly speak about because I didn't really get to play that much about it. But I played Elden Ring Nightreign, the new roguelike from FromSoft set in their Elden Ring universe. That is a very large step for them. They have never done like a live service game like this. I guess it's not specifically live service, but it is a multiplayer game. And I played like 2 to 3 runs, like 3 hours total, because I was expecting to be able to play with my
Yeah,
friends.
because this one's the
but lo and behold,
multiplayer
they don't
one
do
that has like
cross-platform.
parties of 3 or
Yep.
something.
Yeah, exactly. Parties from 1 to 3. You can play solo. I did not have a ton of. Well, it was a little difficult. I'll talk about it more. But the problem I had with it is why I ended up refunding
no.
it is because I wanted to play
Yeah.
with my friends on Xbox, but
It's not
they
cross-platform.
don't offer
Okay, I
cross-platform,
see.
which I realize they have never done cross-platform for any of their multiplayer elements in their games, but they've also never created a multiplayer focused
FromSoft?
game to such an extent as with
I guess not,
as with
yeah.
Nightreign. So I would have expected them to maybe try and do crossplay because it would be beneficial for them and it would be better for the game in
Yeah, just
general.
most
I think to
modern
have a
games.
larger audience of people that could play, especially when this game specifically is set up so that you should play with other people. You can play with randoms,
Okay.
and that works fine, from what I've heard. But
Being able to
like
communicate
you
is
want to be able to
better.
like talk about with friends, and it's just seems like it would be a more enjoyable experience. But from the short stint that I did play, it's cool. The pace of play is entirely different. It's so quick. You're really meant to blitz through these maps and not look at anything that is not necessary.
Not inspect the
It
bread that
plays
has
almost
the
like
entire lore in it.
yeah, exactly. There's even less story to
Okay.
give you in this one than Elden Ring. The pace of play reminds me of Risk of Rain 2 in that aspect of a roguelike where or like a Hades, I guess, where the longer you take, the harder it's going to be, and you're really meant to kind of blitz through the maps and choose what is most useful for you and then proceed. You're not meant to like double back. Oh, look at this building or look at this unique corner of the map. It's not made like that. There is more procedurally generated maps with points of interest that each offer you different things, and you have to do your overview of what map you're given, figure out where you want to go to pick up things that will be useful against the end boss, and then just go about that, having to deal with the enclosing circle and the storm that will eventually force you to fight the bosses at the end of each day until the third one, which is the final one. I only made it to the second boss, and it's tough, but if you are able to get enough levels, that's really where most of your damage is coming in, most of your
Hmm.
scaling. You're like, if you're level 1 for longer than like 1 minute, you're doing it wrong, because you need to get your runes immediately level so you're way stronger, so then you can level faster, and it kind of spirals from there. Interesting kind of retooling of all of, Elden Ring's assets, and the weapons and the systems, and being forced to use items that you might not have used in the actual game, because you open up this chest and there's a dagger that I could use here that might be super useful. So it's kind of fun in that area. The characters that you actually get to play, I think there's like 6 or 7 of them. They all seem very cool. I played through 3 of them, got a feel for each of them, and they all have like one usable ability that you can kind of use regularly on cooldown, and then one ultimate that you normally save for your boss fights in order to get a bunch of stagger damage, or you can situationally use to like clear mobs or help one of your allies get up. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. Wish there was cross-platform. Don't have a ton to say about like the deeper aspects of the systems and all that, because I didn't play
Hmm.
that much. But it's another FromSoft game. They know what they're doing. It's definitely their most different. It's much faster. You're not meant to play super patient, because there's the time limit, which is I guess the most different aspect about it, despite it being their only multiplayer, their only roguelike, whatever. It's really the time constraint that forces you to play the game very differently than you would approach any of their other games. And that's kind of interesting to play through as a unique experience from a very celebrated
Yeah,
studio.
yeah.
But after I eventually got that refunded because
Damn.
they did not offer me cross-platform, sorry, FromSoft, I don't want your game. Get it away from me. Um, I went looking for a game that I thought might scratch the same itch as Pacific Drive, and because I was really enjoying that. Oh, I have a car, and I just get to upgrade it, and I get to keep it the whole time, and I get to build it up and see how much better it gets. And I saw good things about the little indie title called Dredge, and so I started playing that. I'm currently playing it. I'm pretty far into the game now. It's pretty short, but it's a very engaging loop, where you have, a shitty kind of sail, or a shitty fishing boat, and you're trying to go out in this larger world of like islands and different archipelagos and just fish. You know, the twist with this one is that it's very much inspired by Lovecraft, and the weird Lovecraftian horror elements are all apparent throughout the entire game. A lot of the fish that you're going to be catching are mutated or aberrant, and they're like twisted by the forces of ungodly powers, and like they're really weird and fucked up. Some body horror elements, and there's the aspect of, if you ever fish at night or go sailing at night, the fog sets in, and there are monsters in the fog, and there are leviathans hidden beneath the waves, and you have a panic meter that builds up as you're doing things at night, because as the panic meter fills, you start seeing like hallucinations or things that will affect you, because they will legitimately damage your ship or get in your way, but they only appear once you're really high panicked, because perhaps they're not real. Perhaps this is just the madness that is being caused by your vicinity to all of these ancient eldritch beings. And it's very enjoyable. The loop of going out for fishing during the day, trying to get back before night, selling all of that fish, and then using that money to upgrade your boat, get more stock, get better engines, get better fishing lines in order to fish for deeper or different biomes. It's all very satisfying. It's definitely that very standard in that kind of survival simulator kind of genre, but it's something that I didn't realize I had been missing to play after getting into Pacific Drive. Definitely reinvigorated my enthusiasm for these kind of games, because it's just something about rags to riches, having your shitty little beat up vehicle or whatever it is. It could just be, Minecraft starting with nothing in your inventory and then eventually growing way stronger, getting enchanted gear and building up a fort. It's that same rags to riches kind of mentality that survival games really do well. And if a survival game is balanced well, and the structure of the game and the game flow is really satisfying and engaging, there's really nothing else that scratches that same itch gameplay wise, I think. Very enjoyable. I'm liking Dredge a lot. It's much shorter than Pacific Drive, so I don't know if it's gonna suffer from as many like pacing problems as that one had, but it's also not, I guess, immediately. The thing with Pacific Drive that I really enjoyed was just the unique aspect of the shop and the auto repair shop. Working on a beat up car aspect to it was, and with Dredge, I know of fishing games like this. There's like the inventory management aspect of it, where the fish
take up space,
take up different sizes, and they're different different shapes. So you have to fit those into your
I know
grid.
That because Wuthering Waves had
and
that.
Maintain the space.
They just stole it from someone else.
Yeah, it's not as unique in my eyes, but the overall atmosphere is great, and the vibes are fantastic. Like, it's very enjoyable to just kind of take it easy sometimes. There's like the horror aspects of the game where, like, you don't go out at night or the monsters will get you. But when you're just fishing in daylight, it's very satisfying, just kind of puttering around in the environment. It's a pretty beautiful world. And then as you get stronger and your bow gets stronger, you can just go out at night. And I guess you don't really have a ton of consequences for going out at night or getting really highly panicked. I think that could have been implemented better to have more like negative effects, because really you can just kind of face it and it'll be fine. But this is all just to say that it's a game that I'm enjoying playing, something that has scratched a very specific itch. And I would recommend, if you're ever looking for it's a pretty cozy game, honestly. I would
despite the eldritch horrors you encounter or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, it's not all in your face horror. It's more like weird things are happening. Isn't that strange?
Anyways,
I'm just gonna go about my day fishing.
Yeah, cool. I think I might play this at some point. Because I'm looking at the Steam page. It looks cool. It's been a while since I've played a game like this where it's dedicated to just like the whole like sort of sim aspect of it. Like I feel like the last one that I played was Spiritfarer. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, but that one was like you're on a boat and you're like navigating the world and sort of in like a 2D environment thing, and you're like upgrading your boat and like recruiting, I think, people onto it and stuff. And like that one's nice. It does get like a little bit repetitive near the end, sort of, but it is nice overall. And yeah, I haven't really, I guess, thought about this genre much like since then, which that was a few years ago. This one does look cool though. I like fishing stuff in video games. It looks like a nice time, and it looks like it goes on sale relatively often, so might pick it up at some point.
Yeah, pretty cheap indie studio. They put it on sale a decent amount, so I would definitely pick it up if you ever find it for pretty cheap.
Yeah. I do have one more thing. Being the opposite of an indie game, it is the triple list of triple A's. Maybe, I guess you could say it's the second Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game, that being the Donkey Kong Bananza. And playing this after playing Stellar Blade, which was also a AAA game, but that one felt like it leaned way more into the AAA aspectiness of things, where it's like, here's a checklist of things we need to have for our video game guys. We have to have this certain type of action. We need to have this thing from the Souls game, and we gotta have a story. Where do we find that near automata? We steal everything, and we also steal these other parts of it, and like this checklist of like, here's the structure of it, and we have to have these types of locations and these like types of objectives and stuff in the game, and we have to balance around like, oh, now there's platforming sections, now there's action, like now there's stealth, or there's something. There wasn't stealth. I'm just making that up. But anyways, actually there might have been. I'm just not remembering. Anyways, this one, Donkey Kong Bonanza, felt like a much more genuine of like a group of people getting together, and they're like, how do we create something fun and unique and interesting and plays well and intuitively, and it looks and sounds nice. That's what this game is, and it's very good.
And that's
and
what
it's
they
very
cooked
good.
up.
That's what
That's
they cooked.
Nintendo cooked.
It's the same, I think, mostly team as Mario Odyssey, and that shows in the way that it looks and overall plays, and like the way that it's just designed. It's very, very similar to Mario Odyssey, where you have like you progress from like one world to another. There's a bunch of collectibles all over the place, and there's like certain main objectives to hit in each world, and you mostly go linearly from like one to another. And then at a certain point in both games, you get up to a point where you like there's like a split, and you get to go to one world, and then you do the other. You have like the choice of like doing whichever one first. In Mario Odyssey, that happens twice, I believe, and in this game, it just happens once. Overall, the game is similar in length to Odyssey, though I think each world in Odyssey is smaller, but there's more of them to like make up for that. Is how I'm remembering it correctly. And overall, I do prefer Odyssey to this, though it's not like a huge margin. I think I actually gave them the same rating of like 8 out of 10, because this game is epic and fun. And I've never... it's been a long time since the Donkey Kong had a 3D game. It was the Nintendo 64, Donkey Kong 64, which I played a little bit of that. That one's a little bit silly in terms of collectibleness. So I never fully got through that one. And this one, it mostly takes, I'd say, stronger aspects from Mario Odyssey in terms of its, structure, like I said. And the controls and like the platforming and everything, it's really, really nice. And like the destruction aspect of it that it emphasizes quite heavily is really well implemented. There's 3 punch buttons. There's one that you punch down, one of you punch straight ahead, and one that you punch up. And it's just, it makes sense, and it's intuitive and nice because of that. You could just like, in theory, not break the entire world, but you could like destroy very large chunks of it just for fun, to the point where you could potentially bypass certain sections of the game, but it's only like those types of sections are like, it's interesting because like Mario Odyssey had a particular platforming challenges that were laid out for the player to sort of do in particular ways, but you could bypass that by doing certain like things within Mario's kit that allows him to like just like ignore sort of potential platforming challenges, which is maybe a drawback of that game, I guess. And in this one, there's sort of stuff like that, but I just view them in like a different way. You know what I mean? Like if you just go like the main route, the developers sort of mostly intend, like you can do that. And if you decide to do something else, like you'll still meet the same like end goal by the end of it. It's just that like your experience of it will be slightly different because you decided to progress through and navigate the world in a slightly different way than like other players. And there's like nothing wrong with that, really. It just creates like more uniqueness and charm, and like just the way that you can play through the game is fairly different from one person to another in terms of that. And yeah, progression's good. The power-ups are sort of fun and interesting and out there, and people were complaining about, like, not really complaining, but just pointing out like the Mario lore is so messed up because like the fact that Pauline is young in this, even though in the original Donkey Kong arcades that was Cranky Kong capturing an adult Pauline, and that doesn't make sense with relation to time, even though it doesn't really matter at the end of it all, and maybe it's just an alternate universe if you really want to justify it. It's some alternate timeline thing. It also doesn't matter because it's fucking Donkey Kong and you're breaking stuff anyway. So the whole game is like not about the story, though there is like one slightly sort of that I was not really paying attention again to this one, because it really didn't matter. The rest of the game, the actual gameplay of it just completely carried the experience, and it was a really fun time overall. The boss fights are super quick, like just like really fast. Just don't waste your time at all. And they each have, usually they have a couple of different ways of going about defeating them, which also adds to like the flexibility of just like the way that the game can be approached in general. And the final boss fight is cool as well. I think they could have made better use of like each of they're called Bananzas. Donkey Kong will like transform into like an animal form, and like it'll allow him to do like different things with them. And it makes the final boss fight makes use of like 4 out of the 5 sort of. While the other one is just kind of like not very useful. So I feel like they could have done something with that, maybe a little bit to better balance it out. And then also in story, again, like I didn't care about the story, but by the very end of the game, there's something that happens that I'm just kind of like, this is silly. Like, why is this a thing that's happening? Which some people will like it because it's like a fan service thing. Which, you know, I get it, but like it just doesn't. That's all it felt like. You know what I mean? It felt like the least genuine part of the game that for the entire rest of it feels unique and interesting, and then it feels like oh, we need a fan servicing moment here to be like the game exists within this other series, sort of thing. But it's overall it's fine. I forgive it because it's doing well in all of its other aspects. So this is a great game to pick up in the modern day. It's very nice. I did not do too much of I didn't do any of the post-game stuff. I just played through the main game, going through like the levels and exploring them to as much as I wanted to, and then just like moving on. And it was pretty fun based on that. This game does, I would say, incentivize getting bananas rather than which is the equivalent of like moons in Mario Odyssey compared to that game, because basically Mario Odyssey, the whole aspect of getting them is just you get it and it's just one more thing that you have. You do require a certain minimum to travel from one world to another, but like getting a higher amount of that doesn't really matter for anything. And then for this game, once you get 5 bananas, you get a skill point, and there's like a skill tree that you could like upgrade. And they're mostly quality of life stuff, but it is to the where it's like at the point where like you could beat the game without any upgrades. But like they're just sort of like nice things to have, and could sort of transform the way that you traverse the world in general, and then also just like you'll just like approach different things differently. Like again, it adds to that like variability in how everyone will come across sort of like each challenge and each point in each world. So yeah, I think it was overall a fun inclusion. I was a little bit hesitant at it at first because I'm like, oh, that's silly, it doesn't need it. But I think overall it does, like the skill tree does add sort of just another layer to things and further incentivize getting the collectibles besides, oh, you just get another thing or whatever. So yeah, it's a cool game and it's fun and it's nice. And I'm glad that I played it in the modern day.
That's good. Nintendo is, probably the longest running, most consistent studios at this point for sure, just because they've been making quality for longer than any of the other competition, and they haven't stopped. So it's good to know they still have the sauce. I suppose now they're feeling quite justified in raising all the price points. So I assume that's going to just be a thing.
Yeah, this one was still $70. For some reason, Mario Kart was just the $80 one. I don't know why it's so unique.
Yeah,
but whatever.
And would you say that this is worth more than Mario Kart?
I enjoyed it more than Mario Kart World.
You say that?
Is it worth more than that? I guess technically. I mean, again, Mario Kart World doesn't need to be $80. In the realm of everything else, it's not that. But I also split the price of this one in 3 ways between me and my brother, so I did not pay just full price for this anyways. I paid like a third of it, so
makes it a little better.
Yeah, it made it was as if I bought the game on sale, but as a day one purchase. So it was nice doing that.
Well, that takes us to the end of our game section,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if y'all will let me ramble and give you a few music
Yes,
recommendations.
sir.
First one I want to point you guys' way is the new album from rival consoles called Landscape from Memory. If you're looking for any electronic stuff, this one is more in the micro house IDM sort of genre. Very detailed and very catchy songs, honestly. Really enjoying that one. New album from indie darling Alex G, who is, just kind of steadily built an audience for himself. And this album is maybe one of my favorites from him, and probably his most straightforward and marketable one, because he is very well known for that like very washed out reverb kind of abstract indie rock, indie pop stuff. And this one is more straightforward. The song structures are a little more accessible, and I think it works out. It's him at his maybe catchiest, specifically Afterlife, I thought was just a fantastic song. And the rest of the album is also very good. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Another new album to point out from Quadeca, called Vanisher Horizon Scraper. This is incredibly unique listen. It's a very strange blend of a ton of different styles, namely like art rock, art pop, but also like experimental stuff, some hip hop influence, some folk influence, a lot of like Baroque instrumentation. Just a really ambitious project with like lyrical concepts and really interesting structure to the entire album. He's been making some really interesting projects recently. And for those who don't know, he was originally like a YouTube kind of skit rapper
Oh.
that eventually went on to finally break out and has become a real artist, making his own music, producing everything, doing the work. And this one is, I can't say if it's my favorite from him so far, but it is maybe his most impressive, to say the least. Another album to point out from Indigo de Souza called Precipice. This is her first in a while. And while she was normally known for her indie rock kind of aspect to her stuff, this one is much more of a synth pop and synth forward album. I'm honestly on the fence with this one, if I like love it or hate it, or am somewhat indifferent to it. It's still very catchy, and certain songs are standouts, and I really enjoy. But I'm still waiting for her to really wow me. But if you're ever in that mood for like a really earnest indie synthy stuff, I would recommend this one to check out. Another album from Tyler Childers called Snipe Hunter. This is maybe my favorite from him. He's been doing really interesting stuff in the country sphere for a while now, and this one is really like rip roaring, kind of like rocky and bluesy, some like swamp rock, like akin to like a clear Creedence revival, and it's a really fun time, high energy and aggressive, but also like weird and like kind of funny and humorous and a little just kind of nasty in all of the right ways. And another album that has been getting a lot of people talking about it is from Clips, their return album after I don't even know how many years, like 20 or something, called Let God Sort 'Em Out. This is a return for the brothers Malice and Pusha T, and it's a great reunion because they're sounding as good as ever. And production from Pharrell, also solid, just great beats, great hip hop, just like classic coked out bars, and really great production throughout. Another, I guess, comeback album from Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist, Alfredo 2, their second or not second collaboration, but their second collaboration under the Alfredo title. A great album, really enjoying it. Just smooth rapping from Freddie. He has some of the best flows out there, in my opinion. And it's just satisfying how he writes any of Alchemist beats. It's just really enjoyable to listen to the whole thing. Nothing crazy out there from them. I don't think it's my favorite from either of the artists, but definitely one to recommend either way. Similar to how I'm feeling about this new Tyler the Creator album, Don't Tap the Glass. It's a fun time. It was a bit of a surprise drop after he dropped Chromacopia last year. And this one seems more like a celebration lap, more of like a mixtape that he dropped, not meant to be taken as seriously. But it's still enjoyable, I think. Definitely not up there amongst his numerous amazing albums, but something to have some fun songs and a lot of, summer heat to a summer album. And then finally, a shorter EP to recommend to y'all from Sofia Cortesis called Volver. This is another electronic project, kind of interesting blend of house, deep house, and micro house. Really kind of fun grooves and great dance music. Definitely something that I would, if you like this one, I would check out her other stuff, because has a ton of great projects under her stuff. Although a lot, not as many albums. I think just the one, but a lot of great EPs to check out. But yeah, those are all the albums and new music that I wanted to put your guys' way. So after that, I guess it's up to Drew to discuss his music listening. Any updates or?
I think what Peter said sounded really good, even though he cut out a little bit for me because Discord was lagging. Yeah, I've heard of the people talking about the Tyler the Creator one, Don't Tap the Glass, and I recognize the album cover of that. That's my music take. I've heard people talk about that one.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, good
He's hip to
updates
all
for
that.
for this month once again here. And then here's my section on the books, which is the next section. Here's my take on the books. That's my take on the books for this past month. That's what I got. Up to you,
Nice. Peter. I've read a couple that I could talk about briefly for book club. We decided to read the memoir "I'm Glad My Mom Died" from Janet McCurdy, who's famous from
I've become more
iCarly.
increasingly interested in
book
reading
that kind
this
of, yeah, it was kind of popped off when it first released a couple years ago now, and like it was widely celebrated. And I heard a bunch of people read it and recommend it, but finally got around to it for book club, and I'm glad I did, because it is a fun, well, not fun memoir. She went through a lot, and her experiences and memories of her life are quite sad, and a little depressing, but there's a lot of humor to how she writes, and her prose is really engaging, and there's a lot of kind of really interesting framing of her relationship with her mother, obviously, and her other, family members and people who she went through life with, and it's all done in a pretty engaging way. I would recommend checking it out eventually. But outside of the actual book club, we also got recommended to check out the new book called Homegoing by Yag Yassi. This is a debut book from her, and this one, I'm still in the process of reading it, but is really enjoyable, just from her writing. specifically. The prose is fantastic, very simple and concise, however, also deeply poetic and really enjoyable and profound. There's a lot of the whole framing of the book is kind of reframing the slave trade and getting more of the stories of the African tribes and nations that were a part of the slave trade and why and how they have like engaged with the trade and what they got out of it and how everything was kind of recontextualized on that side of the market, as well as you get other kind of point of views from people in America and slaves in America, and you get this sort of generational progression of each new entry into the family, which is really cool, and it helps to create almost a mythic quality and like a transportational quality to the book as you're kind of following multiple different protagonists or multiple different characters through different aspects of or different eras of time, all dealing with the same themes, same hardships, but you see the hardships progress and you understand the history now, and it adds all into a really great read, and a really interesting and profound read. Would recommend that if you're ever looking for a historical fiction, delving into some really interesting places.
Yeah, cool. You were cutting out a bit for me because on that, and also the last book a little bit because I don't know, my fucking laptop is dying. I turned off the cameras for both you and me, so hopefully the lag is a little bit less. I think it's a bit better since then. Anyways, the other book that you were talking about, I'm glad my mom died. To backtrack a little bit to that one. I'm definitely a little bit interested in that one because a lot of like celebrity books are kind of just like whatever. But I've heard increasingly still like good things from this. They were trying to also for a time do like some sort of like either show or film like adaptation of it or something that would star
They
her.
are still trying to do that.
But it's like I think it's gone through production now a little bit.
That's how these things normally go. It's like, oh yeah, wouldn't people be interested in this? It's like, yeah, let's do that, and then 10 years down the line, we'll see how that goes. I guess.
But yeah, cool. Were those your two things, or do you have anything else?
Yeah, those were all that I read this week.
Hell yeah, this week,
this month, whatever. It's all the same.
All good.
This period of time that we're traveling through.
Yeah, exactly. The next section is YouTube. I have one thing, I guess, sort of to mention. There was the I don't know if you saw it, the Critical Role had like the announcement of like their fourth campaign.
I did.
And just the discourse sort of surrounding that. Just a small bit, want to get into that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I still have not caught up on
really?
season 3, so I still have to finish that eventually. But I saw, the headline, Matt Mercer steps down from lead DM for campaign 4, which
the world is fucking ending and the YouTube channel's turned to shit. It fucking sucks. Yeah. I am honestly not surprised by this because like the transition, I feel like between campaigns 3 and 4, like their whole plan was to like serve as a transitional period of like, can Brennan fill in the shoes of the thing, and he probably did so in a well enough way. Like I've watched a decent amount of D20, which is what DMs. Like he like mainly does for like DMing. Yeah, exactly. And he's like great in that. And like I love his like he has a series on that channel. I forget what it's called, but it's a really great series where it's basically like, I think it was during COVID, so it's a lot of like Zoom call type of things, but it's like just like him and other people just like discussing D&D and like DMing, I think specifically, but also just like the game in general. And he has like a bunch of different like guests on like each episode, and that's a really nice series that he has done. And like I like him as a DM also, so I'm not surprised that he is ending up being the DM in this one, because between 3 and 4 they were doing like more one-shotty things which he was a lead in. So I feel like that was sort of like the testing
Mm-hmm.
ground of like, hey, can you do it, and can people respond well enough to it? And obviously it wasn't enough for like the audiences of like to be like, oh no, it's the fucking worst thing ever, and I'm ending my life, or I don't know, something like that. But it's like, it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Like, come on, you know, for yourself. This is a fucking
It's
hundred.
not.
It's
Like,
it's
people
this free
people really like
entertainment
Matt
that you're
Mercer.
watching for hundreds of hours, and it's like it's cool if like you're involved in it and you like it a lot. Like, I mean, the both of us too. It's just that like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the dude's gonna do a good job. Is he gonna be the exact same as Matt Mercer? No, because he's a different person than him.
No, yeah.
And like, especially DMing, like it's every person's different when it comes to it, and it's a difficult position to be in, especially if it's in front of whatever millions of people, I guess. And he's one who can like do that like pretty damn well, like really well, comparatively to like the average person. And like compared to Matt Mercer, like is he good? No, I guess not. Slightly, a little bit. But like he's still really good. So it's like I don't see what all the worry is.
Yeah,
And then
there's
you also
different
have like all these
appeal.
hundreds of hours of episode where Matt is the DM. So it's just like, I mean, like what? Let him play as a player. I don't know. It seems cool. Like you do
Yeah,
with
no,
that.
I mean, they're getting old. I don't know.
I know
what to
they're like
say.
in their
Like,
40s,
it's
almost 50s.
understandable.
Maybe.
This thing is not going to continue on
Yeah.
forever. Like, they all have families that are now, you're getting even larger. And it's like, let the people do what they want. I think I'm still gonna enjoy it just as a as a D&D
Yeah.
game streamed, whatever. It's an enjoyable media property, and I guess I'll miss Matt because he has a style of DMing that is unique to him and is widely
100%.
appealing. But I already like Brennan. I already like his style of DMing. I've liked what he did with Critical Role during Calamity. I think that's like my favorite piece of D&D content ever. I think that was so tight. So I'm interested to see how he can work it in with like the larger world and the wider lore of Exandria.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Matt will be there, guiding
Yeah,
him
I'm sure
and
they'll still
helping
like
out.
collaborate a
It's
little
not
bit.
like he's
Like
going
they'll
to
trade
disappear from
notes
Critical
and
Role.
stuff.
He's still he is a part of that company. He is
Yeah.
definitely tied to all of that, and it's his creation. So definitely plenty.
Yeah, there's not going to be like an insane quality drop off.
It's definitely
or
that
anything.
the headline. Yeah, the headline is definitely worse than like what the reality of the situation is. Where he just wants
It's just
to take a
people
step away
freaking
from
out.
DMing.
Honestly.
Let him do it. Yeah, he's gonna be. I wouldn't doubt he's still involved in many aspects of the Critical Role company, which still includes all of the shows that they have. They're like, what now? They have like on the third, or I think they're animating
really?
campaign 2 now, and they have a few seasons of the first campaign already.
Yeah, I still
under
haven't
their
seen
belt.
any of that
So
yet. Have you?
I watched the first season
Okay.
of the first campaign, and it's pretty solid. There's some, story changes that I expect from any adaptation, and it's not as good in my opinion
Sure.
as the actual thing. But that's because it's how do you translate a D&D game into any other form of media? You do it as Boulder Gate 3, and that it's not easy to do as an animated show. So you take what you get, and I think it's done pretty well. Animation's solid, and obviously voice acting is, you got the characters already, so it's all pretty fun.
Yeah, I think I mean, this whole thing is just can be summarized as people needlessly freaking out. It's still gonna be cool. You could probably compare it to other seasons. I mean, we both said that like campaign 1 is our favorite, and that's the first one. And usually that means a bad thing, but it's like when it involves like this direct, like real people thing, and it's like just for free also is sort of a big deal. It's
And it's the journey. It is the journey as opposed to the destination. Like the overall story could be, boiled down to a single paragraph, I guess, if you want to get needlessly obtuse when you're summarizing. But like that's not why you're watching a D&D show. You're watching it for the interactions. You're watching it for the gameplay interactions and all of the different party members and their interplay. And it's just like what it feels like to play D&D and to be at the table and to witness it is why you're watching it, not necessarily, oh, it's because the different storyline is not how I
it's not
cinematically
cinematically perfect.
They
They
didn't
didn't
do what
improvise
I wanted.
it. I mean,
It's
plan
like,
it out.
oh,
They didn't script
they
it
didn't.
good enough.
Yeah, they didn't play it like I would have. It's like, no shit, it's their game.
Anyways, did you have anything? Was there any epic sports happening or anything you paid attention to on
No
YouTube?
epic sports, and yeah, nothing. Nothing that I want to
Okay.
speak on with my YouTube consumption, really. So I guess that's
I
it.
guess that's it. That's everything in this entire podcast and YouTube channel in general. That's it. It's fucking it, man.
That's
Anyways, thank you for watching, and
Later.
catch us in the next Podcatchers episode, which would be 12, maybe. I'm thinking, if this is 11, or is this one 12?
Well,
This is 13.
This is 12.
Okay.
This is 12.
Well,
This
next
is
one will
12.
be
Next will
13.
be
Look forward to that.